Hello, it's Andrew Eborn here again with Lives on Lockdown. Hi, it's Andrew Eborn here. Welcome to another edition of Lives on Lockdown, where my special guest is Andy Kyriacou. How are you, Andy?
I'm well, thank you, mate. How you doing?
I'm not too bad at all. I tell you what, you're looking fantastic. On
It's
lockdown,
good.
it's doing you good.
Well, it is doing me good because I'm not running myself ragged. Having said that, I'm still going to bed at 3, 4 in the morning. God knows what. I find stuff to do all the time, but it's actually good to see you because it's been so long now. And although it's virtual, it's on screen. I know you're still around. This is good. It's a good start.
Yeah, it's great. And this is what's happened because last time I saw you in the flesh, we were doing a fantastic concert together with RJ Gibb and everybody, and the Italian Bee Gees, the whole Legacy tour. And you were brilliant there with Nats as well. And I was hoping to come and see Nats in concert. But all that, obviously, we then had this little virus thing going around, which shut it all down.
Absolutely. I mean, Natsy's gig, she actually had a gig on the Friday, and it's the same day to show you how prudent it was to not do the gig. She said, I'm not doing the gig, and the organiser said, well, she said, no, it's dangerous. And the same day, they closed down the Premier League. So that goes to show, I think she made the right decision because you just don't know. All these people in one room at the same time, 250 people coming to see a gig. It would have been fantastic, but you only needed to find out afterwards that one person went away and because of that got ill and died. We'd all feel awful. Yeah. So she said, what do you think, Dan? And I said, well, my opinion is you've got to cancel it. Of course, since then, all our gigs, Modern Romance and Natalie's, all gigs have been cancelled for the whole of 2020. So
what a nightmare, because you're one of the busiest bands that we know and fantastic stuff. So how many gigs did you have lined up?
Well, we had 11 of the Let's Rock gigs.
Right.
So Newcastle, Liverpool, Belfast, Wales, all over the place. We had some gigs with Butlins. We had some other gigs lined up, which we haven't confirmed because the paperwork didn't come through. As well, it didn't come through because it'd be getting cancelled now anyway.
Yeah. And what's crazy, Andy, and I've had all sorts of musicians on here and artists, and I was talking to the head of the UK wrestling over here. Everybody but everybody is approaching this in a different way. It's very different when, as an artist, you want to be on the stage performing in front of a huge crowd and they all go crazy. In lockdown, it can drive you crazy, can't it?
Well, it's very frustrating to say the least. I've got a message only half an hour ago from my drummer, Matt. He lives in Sweden.
Yeah. Mycket bra in Sweden. Tack så mycket. Varsågod.
I'm sure he understands all that. I haven't got a clue. But anyway, not bad enough him being in Sweden and not seeing him until we've got gigs. We haven't had gigs. And I said, look, I really miss the Modern Romance family because we haven't gotten together as a band. Our last gig was in July last year. The reason being, as you may know, you'll remember this, I went to Cyprus and had an accident. So all our gigs from July till December were cancelled because I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't do anything. As you saw, I had to be helped on stage for your gig.
Yeah, I know, that was great. Even if you never needed it, Andy, the sympathy vote, here's Andy from Modern Romance, was wonderful. I come limping on it, it's great.
It doesn't matter. I think if I'd have been really, really rubbish that day, then, oh, bless him, he's got a bad leg, we'll take him anyway. So, yeah. But, I mean, all the gigs got cancelled from that point to the end of December. And then we thought, OK, January, February, we start getting some gigs. And, of course, February comes in and this thing starts. So we've got nothing now, effectively, till next summer, till next year, unless something comes up towards the end of the year. But you can't bank on that because people are still very apprehensive, very nervous. So, yeah, I mean, for us, it's affected us in that, say, me personally, my income stream is now zero because this is what I do. Short of getting a little tin pot out of my garage and going down the road and busking in the street, I don't know. And then people have got they've got to throw coins from across the road because it's social distancing. They can't even come and put it in the pot. So it's like, what the hell to do? But having said all that, I've obviously spoken to different musicians, different people, and they're all lamenting the loss of this, that, the other. And the one thing I've said to them, look, I'm in as bad a position as anybody, if not worse, because this is my only way to make a living. And I said, look, it doesn't matter because you can come back from financial ruin. Look at me, I got injured, I nearly got killed last year. You can come back from that. You can come back from financial ruin, you can come back from any kind of disaster, failed marriages. You can always recover from divorce. Everything you can recover from it. The one thing you can't recover and come back from is death. So once you're dead because you were stupid enough to go out and just mill around and think, yeah, I'm fine, and then one of your, or even worse, can you imagine going out, carrying it in asymptomatic and giving it to one of your family? So the best thing we can all do, no matter how much it affects us financially, mentally, physically, we can only walk around the block, whatever. The best thing we can all do is just be sensible and stay home, because once it's all over, we'll all be out in the parks and on the beaches and doing the big live gigs and people hugging each other and having a laugh as we always do. But until then, we have to be sensible. Otherwise, can you imagine the disaster in having, for example, one of the Let's Rock gigs, and you get 3 or 4 people that are infected, and you've got 22,000 people there? Well, it doesn't bear thinking about.
You're absolutely right, Andy. And our mate, our mutual mate, Jules Zanan, who got it, the editor of The Sport, he was struck down with it, wasn't he?
Of course. I mean, he got it, and he actually sent me a picture, and I looked at it and I went, why is he wearing all this stuff? And then I realised, and he actually got better, came home, was talking to me, everything, and he didn't sound too great. He was talking to his arm, all right, And then about 4 days later, he was back in again, relapse. And he's actually the second person that I personally know of my friends. I had another friend who said to me, I thought I was checking out. He said, I thought that was it. It was so bad. And so was Jules, obviously. So it's not something to be messed around with or taken lightly, as a lot of people have done, because you might feel strong and you might be physically strong, and strong within yourself, i.e., you may be one of those people that doesn't get colds and doesn't get flu and think, yeah, but you can still get it, not show any symptoms, and pass it to someone else, someone in your family. I mean, I heard an awful story just before the lockdown when they were advising people to stay away from each other, etc. I heard a story of a family that got together, about 20 of them, mums and dads and grandchildren, everyone, uncles and aunties, family of about 20, all got together to have a meal. And within about 4 days, 3 of them were dead and 4 were in hospital of the same. Can you imagine, like an auntie, a granddad, one of the nephews had died, and then 4 other people were in hospital. And you sort of think, wow, and that you can't come back from, no matter how well we all prepare and go, yeah, it's all over now. That family, that's just one of many, many families. That family will always have this hanging over them and be questioning themselves, and if we'd have not had that dinner, and if. So I reiterate to anyone who's watching this, put music aside, put everything aside. The most important thing is stay home, stay with your families, avoid going out, avoid contact with people. And once it's all over, then we can all go out and have a laugh. But until then, we're giving this virus a get out, because it's like having running water and blocking it some and go, right, so it can't go anywhere. We're actually allowing it to filter out through our fingers and go places. And that's what's happening. But we are basically conduits for this thing. And if we keep in contact with each other, as some people have done, and just go, oh yeah, we're going out and going to have a barbecue. It's only a barbecue, but you're standing next to your mate, and you don't, it's like, anyway. So hopefully, people will have learned from some of the sad stories that we've heard. Some awful stories. I've heard a story about twins, not young kids. They're like 35, 40. They died within a day of each other. I mean, so come on, people. Be sensible. Yes, we love to do our gigs. Yes, we love our music, but if we can be sensible now, then we'll all be back out and doing what we love to do. Us as artists, you as people to go to gigs, audience, we can interact with you and have a laugh just like we used to. It's just only temporary. People have to remember it's only temporary, but it's only as temporary as we make it. If we carry on being silly, we just make it an even longer, arduous thing. Anyway, I've had my rant.
Thank you for that, because important points. And I think what happens, and people get numb by the statistics, don't they? People don't really understand statistics. You put a face on it, and you and I know people who've been directly affected. Then it becomes real, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes. I don't know this person. I know somebody who survived cancer. All clear, off you go. Only to get this and die a couple of months later. As I said, I've heard, you hear awful stories, and you don't need to know somebody. I mean, all right, I know Jules and I know my friend Kiri, they both had it. But even if I didn't know those two people, I would still be sitting back and thinking, do I really want to take a risk with my life, with the lives of my kids, my loved ones, by going out, bringing this thing into the house? No. So hopefully people will think of it that way. And yes, we're all sort of lamenting the loss of this festival and that, and we had this holiday planned and that. We all did. Everybody did. You know, people's businesses have fallen by the wayside. Airlines are flipping, you know, taking a nosedive, if you pardon the pun. But that's the way it is. But we can recover from that. But if we do silly things and someone in our family kicks the bucket, then, mate, you're not coming back from that. So let's be sensible.
Yeah. All good advice. Now, a lot of artists who I've been speaking to around the world, you know, we know all sorts of fantastic people. They are so used to doing the big things, but they've adapted to this new way of communicating with people where they've actually got very creative. And some of it was epitomized by good old Lady Gaga's concert. And for me, the highlight, many highlights, but for me, the personal highlight was seeing the Stones on their little square window, seeing inside their living rooms, and Charlie Watts playing what looked like the saucepans or the drums. That was like a brilliant way of sort of turning around and saying, look, we can pare everything down. Have you been doing similar things? Have you been doing concerts online? Have you been
Yeah.
bands and stuff?
For Let's Rock, we did. Natural fact, something came out today. I sent it to you earlier today. I mean, a lot of it's for charity, and I'm glad to do it because we've got to, you know, use what we've got as artists and try and help people. And, you know, this particular charity, mental health charity, so it's a cover of Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, but a line is sung from different artists. So you've got Toya, you've got Owen Paul, you've got me, you've got a few other different people, TV people that, you know, bless their subs. They obviously can't sing, but because they're TV celebrities, they're on there singing the line, and it's awful, but it's great because it's them. You know,
who was the worst line? Who was the worst singer?
I think it's a tie between about three people. Three of them were absolutely like, oh dear. But that they're brilliant in their field, whatever it is they do. They're not singers, they're actors, they're dancers, they're whatever they were doing. You know, presenters. I probably couldn't present a TV show like some of them. So that's what they do. You know, so. But to do it, I think it's very brave of them, commendable, and it's all for a good cause. And it's a laugh. At the end of the day, people are going, oh, and, you know, sort of laughing at, oh, God, he was pretty terrible, or she, whatever. But it's part of the fun. It can't always be professional, polished, because, yes, that's what we do. Like, they do professional, polished programs. If I produced a program, it would be like something from the Keystone Cops, I'm sure.
We love the Keystone Cops. It's got to be.
Yeah, back a bit. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But, yeah, so we've done that. Yeah, it came out today, actually. I've got sent the link.
That's great. No, I got the link. That's wonderful. I love that sort of stuff. And as you say, this has been the great thing, and good things have come of this. We now recognise a change of focus where you're getting everyday heroes. So people like now Sir Thomas More, you know, the fantastic captain who walked up and down his garden. It's going to just raise £1,000 is what he wanted. Reach 100 lengths before his 100th birthday. In the end, he raised 33 million. Not only that, he was also #1 with Michael Moore in Didn't Walk Alone. Brilliant stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you've got the fun aspect coupled with the, you know, raising money for a decent cause, for a charity or whatever. I mean, somebody contacted me quite a few weeks back and said, do you mind doing a couple of songs live? So I said, well, how long do you want? I said, 20 minutes enough, half an hour? He goes, if you could do half an hour. I said, all right. So me and Nats and I did half an hour, and he wanted to raise £1,000. The last time I looked, it was 133 grand.
Wow, fantastic.
I want to raise with £1,000. I just did it by himself. I'm going to put it up and just send it to a few people and get people to try and donate money. 133 grand. Now, if me doing that in my position can get people to go and watch it and put 133 grand into a charity. There was another one we did for Let's Rock. they raised a phenomenal amount. They raised like 500 something grand because they got 1 million people watching it all over the place. And so we did that as well. And the one aspect of it, which you don't, listen, when I do a gig, I have fun. Don't get me wrong, I have great fun. I've got my daughter next to me. I've normally got my son in the audience, and we have little private eye contact and little jokes, little messing around. But you can tell at this thing, we actually did 2 takes. We did one on one day, which was, everything was perfect, the vocals were perfect, but there were little glitches on the video. So I said, we could send it, because we're not here to be 100% professional. It's a bit of fun to raise some money for Let's Rock. And I said, let's do it again the next day. We did it the next day, and Nats was being silly and had me in, I couldn't sing half the time. I was in hysterics. And I decided to send them that one, because I said, I looked at it myself afterwards, and I said, you know what? I'm laughing. I'm looking at it and laughing at myself laughing, because I'm thinking, why the hell can't I say? Because I'm laughing. That's what I'm laughing in the video. That's why I can't sing. And I was laughing, watching it. And it went up, and people have commented and said, you can really tell how much fun you two are having. And I thought, that's what it's about. It's not only about the music, it's about the fun, creating that music, and we're creating it at home. People are seeing Nat's bedroom, or if we do something here, they'll see what's behind me. I did a little bit here, and people would see where I sit. And it's nice because, I mean, I got to see the video I sent you today, the Rehasty thing.
Yeah.
You get, everybody is in a different, so as soon as it goes to Toya, she's in a little home booth studio at home. As soon as it goes to someone else, he's sitting at his desk. Someone else is in his garden, he's put some lights on and giving it, giving it effects, which is really lovely. Everyone's done their own little thing, and you get a glimpse into their home surroundings, if you like. And it's just a bit more personal than just seeing everyone on stage, which is lovely, always been lovely. But this is kind of like a step to the side. And
you're so right, Andy. And this is what I've loved about these things, is seeing that a lot of people started off with all the bookcases with books they've never read. That's how they do all loads of awards and things. But now you're keeping it real. So what you've got, talk to, what have you got behind you? Tell me what you've got behind you.
Well, let's have a look. I don't even know. Right, let's have a look. I've got signed picture camp, because I'm a massive Arsenal fan.
I know you are. That's why I was asking.
I've got a #1 Batman comic signed by Bob Kane, the creator of Batman.
Excellent.
I've got some other Arsenal memorabilia stuff there. I've got a couple of gold and silver discs. I don't know if you can see that over there.
See, that's what you want. You want the awards. What were they for?
So look, so I've got some in the front room. This one here is for Best Years of Our Lives.
Fantastic.
This is for Walking in the Rain.
Excellent.
This is for a gold album for sales in Venezuela.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Venezuela, you were huge. Still huge.
Yes, so you got an English pop band selling Latin music to the Latin people, which is...
I love it. I know, it's so good. When you see the stats and everything, your Venezuelan audience, they love you there, don't they?
They do indeed. So, yeah, you know. Yeah, and this is... Oh, I'll tell you what, actually, while we're here, let me... I don't know if you can see this. Over there is a drum kit.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
Keyboards. We've got a PA in here. So basically, I'd shift a few things around when the band are rehearsing. We rehearse in here because we used to rehearse in a rehearsal studio. And you had the age-old problem of the #1 problem, parking. You can never... So you're in there ready to rehearse and 3 band members are driving around the block trying to find someone to park their cars. Then the other thing is, when you want to go out for a break, you have to lock everything up and, well, I don't want to leave my guitar because it's worth £2,000. I want to take it with me to the coffee shop. And whereas here, we leave it all and we just step into the garden and have coffee and food and whatever. I've actually, this is no word of a lie, I have actually had the microphone and walked out to check on the barbecue that's cooking outside while I'm singing. So they're all playing in here and I walk outside singing, check the barbecue and go, yeah, you know, that's it's been done nice, yeah. And then walk back in and time it so that as we finish for the break, we go out into the garden, barbecue, that's literally off the skewer there and then onto the plate and we'll eat. So, and you can't do that in a rehearsal studio. I don't care where it is.
But that little crackling noise you get on your record next time, that's actually your steak frying rather than anything else.
Yes,
steak on the barbie, is it?
That's the chicken sizzling, yes.
Yeah, we love the chicken sizzlers. That's got to be good. I love that. And where's your home, Andy? Where do you live?
In Harrow.
I thought you did. It's nice up there, isn't it? I like Harrow.
Lovely, lovely. Harrow on the Hill, where the schools are as well, the nice schools. It's a bit Hogwartsy, very. And what I do like about it is, I don't drive through there very often now, but when I used to take the kids to school when they were younger, I used to take them to school. As you drive through, you see all the boys wearing their blazers, and in summer they wear straw boaters, and they're not allowed to carry rucksacks. They have to hold all their books in their hands. So it's just books like this. There's no rucksack, there's no bag, there's nothing, with their blazers and everything. It's all very prim and proper, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great.
It's a great place, Harry. And you keep, as you say, you keep nice and fit on the hill. I think that's fantastic, isn't it? So talking about school days, talk me through your school days. Do you remember them?
They were a long, long time ago. Yes, I do.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in. Unfortunately, I hate to say this as an Arsenal man, I went to school in Tottenham.
There you go.
The only
I knew that, Andy. I wanted to see you grimace as you said it, because I knew where you went to school. So you're a Tottenham boy. So how does a Tottenham boy become an Arsenal fan?
Basically, as I was growing up, and you know, on Saturday afternoon, Saturday sort of 5 o'clock, you get the news. You know, here are today's football scores. You know, Chelsea 3, Arsenal 4. Yeah, and you get that. I just like the word Arsenal. It's only later when I became an Arsenal fan and went to my first game and everything. It's only later that I discovered I was actually born at the end of Holloway Road at Archway in St Mary's Hospital there, which makes me an Arsenal fan anyway. It's Arsenal ground.
There you go.
And I thought, thank God for that, because if I'd have found out I was born down the road from White Hart Lane, I think I'd have been a bit desolate. Oh dear, no, not good.
Funny. And do you remember your first musical experience? Do you remember the first record you bought?
Oh yes,
What was it?
Still got it. I tell you what. Growing up, my musical influences, the first things I discovered that made me want to really play music were twofold. They were Tamla Motown and David Bowie.
Love it.
And David Bowie.
Oh.
I discovered Ziggy Stardust, and then I went backwards and got Hunky Dory and Man Who Sold the World, and from there I just carried on, and I bought it had Insane and whatever. But those two things are what made me really get into music and made me realise I want to play. I want to play drums. I decided I loved the drums all of a sudden, and that was it. I decided to do that. But the first record, so when you consider, I went through that, and then as I got older, I became a real proper soul and jazz funk maniac. Don't speak to me about vocals. It was all about the music. You know, people doing little keyboard solos, fantastic things, you know. And the minute someone would play me a piece of music, and I'd go, oh, this is really great, yeah. And then somebody would start singing, and I'd go, oh, they've ruined it now. Why did someone have to sing? I was I must admit, I was very, very blinkered about these things, because I'd kind of channeled myself into this thing where it's all about music. You don't need vocals. They're just a throwaway thing. Obviously, joining a pop band and playing on top of pop so many times and meeting all these people completely changed that thing. And I've realised that, man, there are some fantastic pop songs where some great vocalists and whatever, you know. But unless it was a soul tune, Marvin Gaye, Philadelphia sound, I wasn't interested in vocals. What were vocals for, you know? So with all that in mind, the first record I ever bought, and I'm proud because wasn't, for example, somebody had this on Facebook the other day, and they said the first record I ever bought was "Shut Up Your Face" by Joe Dolce.
Oh, I love that song. Love it.
I wouldn't be telling anyone that if I was you. Anyway, the record I bought, the first record I ever bought, which is most people won't know it because it was in the 70s, was "Gentle on My Mind" by Dean Martin.
Oh, come on. Fantastic song.
Yeah, and I've still got it now, right? And I think I'll still occasionally get it up on YouTube and play it and go, mate, this is still a fantastic, what a voice the guy had, you know.
No, it's super. And where did you buy it? Do you remember, did you pop down to Woolies or something to buy it?
No, I bought it from a shop called Derrick's Records.
Right.
Turnpike. And they were the local store. In actual fact, I remember queuing outside there, waiting the day. I was at 2 days I remember in particular. The day that Songs in the Key of Life came out, I was outside waiting for it to open so I could go and buy it. First day of release. And before that was the day that Aladdin Sane came out, David Bowie, and I was the first one to buy it off home to listen to it. I was completely kind of, to say immersed in music by that time is an understatement. Everything focused around music. I'll make you laugh. I signed up to an adult education centre. It was like a college because in school, I didn't do too well, only because I discovered music and my mind was wandering. So I thought, no, need to pass some exams. So I got all CSEs, and I thought, that's rubbish. I need to get GCSEs. I need to get proper stuff. So O-levels. So I signed up to this place in Muswell Hill. Funny enough, down the road from Dennis, where Dennis Nilsson used to live. Remember Dennis Nilsson?
Okay.
Go kill people and put them in his drains.
Yeah, I know the guy. Well, I know what he did, apparently.
So anyway, I was down the road from there, going to this little college down there, and I went in for about a week, just saying hello to everyone, meeting everyone. After a week, I went, nah. I said, this is rubbish. And I said, I'm going home. Why are you going home? I said, I'm going home to practice my drums. I said, I want to practice playing my drums a bit more. And I went home to learn to practice, and I wanted to play soul music, which was a bit more difficult than the early stuff I was playing. I thought I want to get into proper funk music now. Let's get into that. So I went home and just studied at home. I did a home correspondence course to get the O-levels. I thought it's much easier to do it at home when I can be bothered rather than spend all day in a college. Not recommended, but having said that, I managed to do it. I don't know how. And just stayed home and played drums and did my stuff.
Brilliant. I mean, for a lot of instruments, when people start, it's a terrible noise. Who decided that you would have a drum kit, and who got it for you, and what did the neighbours say?
Right, let me just move you over to this bit so I can. Right, I decided on the drum kit, and it happened when I was about 14, 15 in school, and a friend of mine said, oh, I've just bought a drum kit. I went, have you? Oh, right. Total indifference, nonchalance. Went round to his house, and I went, oh, okay, And it's a bit, I'll tell you what, the only thing I can equate it to, I've never said this to anyone actually, it's a really good analogy. The only thing you can equate it to is your first kiss. Right, I sat down, picked up these sticks, and didn't know what to do. And I went like that, bang, bang, bang. Oh yeah. Walked away and could not stop thinking about it. Went out the next day, bought a set of drumsticks, no drums, just drumsticks. Went home and thought, what have we got? And I was looking around, I thought, oh yeah, that hairdryer box, we'll have that. I started drumming on these boxes and things. After a couple of days, of course, the boxes were thrashed to death because the cardboard boxes, you're hitting them with a stick. Eventually they were shredded to bits. I thought, well, that's not going to work. So I decided, I'll drum on the bed. I'll just use the bed as my drum. Two reasons why that's not a good idea. Number one, there's no bounce or no give in the bed. So learning to play on the bed was fine. When I eventually got a drum kit, I was hitting them and the sticks were flying all over the place because I was just not used to the bounce back. Oh, there it goes. Let's get it back again. Drumming it. Oh, there it goes again. It took ages. And also I had to adapt my whole way of playing because you're now playing something that the sticks bounce and you have to anticipate the bounce to come back for the next stroke. Whereas the other one, it was all me controlling it with the wrist. Whereas now I'm controlling it with the wrist, but it's flicking back. So it's like you have to change your whole way of playing. That's number one bad reason. Number two is after a while of sitting in the same place, drumming, learning to drum, teaching yourself to drum, the good thing about it is it's not very noisy because you're playing on the bed. But the bad thing is that area of the bed, eventually, I walked in one day and looked at it and I thought, oh dear, it's now a different colour. Because I'd gone right through, it's so thin, you could see underneath. You could see the actual, the sheets underneath. It was like a duvet cover and I'd gone right through it nearly. But because it's happening so slowly, you don't realise. I walked in and looked at it and I thought, why can I see through the duvet? And I thought, right, okay, fine. We're going to be in trouble now. But yeah, so I just decided, I didn't decide actually. I think it was a bit like Harry Potter when he says to him, you don't choose the wand, Harry, the wand chooses you. Well, I think the drums chose me. That was it. I had no choice in it.
So where did you get your first drum kit then? So getting for a drum kit?
My first drum kit, ironically, was that drum kit from that friend of mine.
Okay.
He decided to sell it after about a year and a half. Up until then, I was drumming at home and he said, I'm selling it for 25 quid.
25 quid there. That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, but mind you, having said that, this was in 1974, 5, 4.
Okay.
Remember there. So I thought, okay, I'll have that. Took it home. I still have the snare drum from that drum kit.
Well, we'll drink that another time. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I just kept it for old time's sake because it's my first. It's like your first car or your.
Yeah, you've got to have it. It's your first kiss.
Yeah, there you go. So I kept the snare drum, played it for a while, and in actual fact, I'll tell you a funny story. That drum kit actually prevented me from going on to do something later on. This was, I was auditioned by a band. So I went there with my drum kit, taken there by someone, set the kit up, played, and it was this bunch of young kind of like soul bands, you know, all North London guys here, you know, what's happening, bruv, what's going on, right? And they said, listen, we love the way you play. They said to me, the actual words were, you're really funky for a white boy. You play, because that's what it's a funk band, it's a soul band. They said, for a white boy, you're well funky. And they said, there's only one problem. I said, what's that? And they said, you can't possibly get on stage with that drum kit. He said, it looks like it was dragged out of a, you know, a rubbish tip. Because it was an awful kit for 25 quid. It looked like rubbish. He says, you can't play with that. I said, well, listen, I was, at the time, I was 16 going on 17. So I've been drumming a couple of years. I've taught myself a bit, I suppose. But I said, this is at the time when I was at this education centre thing, you know. I said, I've just started a kind of college thing. I said, I've got no money to buy a drum kit. Anyway, I stayed friends with them. This band was called Headquarters, and I stayed friends with them. Still friends with some of them today, right? But that band eventually split, and they became two bands. One became a band called Lynx. Do you remember Lynx from the 80s?
They
had a song
I remember Lynx.
Lynx with David Grant as the singer.
Yeah, David Grant's great, yeah.
Yeah. And the other band became Central Line, who also had hits. So I'm sitting there in about 1980, 81, early 81, thinking I could have been in that band who had hits, and I could have been in that band who had hits, and I'm sitting here doing nothing with a band no one's ever heard of. Lo and behold, somewhere along the line, I walked into a club, started chatting to some people, because this band had just finished playing called Modern Romance. No one's ever heard of them. And I started chatting to them. I said, if you ever need a drummer, or you know someone who needs a drummer for a band, give me a shout. As it turns out, they had seen my previous band, one of the band members from Modern Romance had seen my previous band play in a club in the West End. So they phoned me up and said, right, we want to offer you the job. And I said, but you've never heard me. You've got at least auditioned me or something. No. One of our band members heard such and such a band. You were the drummer, weren't you? I said, yeah, that's good enough, because he said the band was excellent. I said, you're in. So I joined this unknown band called Modern Romance, totally unknown.
I think they'd had 2 singles when you first joined, but they didn't do anything with the singles, did they?
No, they had 2 singles, flops. Yeah. And I didn't even know they had 2 flops. I had no idea. I just heard them talking one day, talking record companies and record. And I went, excuse me? Oh, yeah, we've got a record deal. We've released 2 records. And I said, yeah, and? Oh, nothing. Oh, okay. And it was a case of 3 strikes and you're out. The record company did say, this one isn't a hit, we're throwing you off the label, that's it. And the third one was Everybody Salsa.
Yeah. And
so I joined.
Brilliant start. What a fantastic one to come on.
But within 8 weeks of joining, 8 weeks later, I was on top of the pops, looking around, thinking, this is what I've been looking at for.
Yeah, for David Grant, weren't you?
Well, looking at for anybody, I was just thinking, we're here in the studio that I see every week and watch religiously. You know, everyone watched Top of the Pops. It was the show.
Oh, absolutely. I remember seeing all the. So who was on the bill with you that day? Do you remember?
Yeah, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark were on.
Brilliant.
And I love that song. I was trying to think who was. I mean, I remember them because I remember I'd never heard this song, and I was transfixed when they did this song. It's a song called Souvenirs. They did electro.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
OMD. I've actually got the whole of that episode of Top of the Pops, all of it on video, recorded, kept to one side, because I thought one day I'm going to sit and just watch the whole thing. OMD, I'm trying to think who was. Well, anyway, it was that ill cue. Oh,
that's what I mean. No, but great music. So I remember seeing you the very first time on it. I'm coming in there, as you say, fresh from the band, and within just a matter of weeks, you have a fantastic hit. You then appear on Top of the Pops. You've made it, haven't you?
yeah, once you're on top of the pops, that's it. I mean, and to be honest, the magnitude of top of the pops didn't actually hit me because it was kind of very fast and yet kind of very relaxed. In that I joined and we were rehearsing in these crummy little rehearsal studios underneath the railway arches where a lot of studios. There's that smell of damp and so we're doing the rehearsals there. And all of a sudden, someone said, "Oh, your singles charted at number 110 or something." Then the week after, it was, "Oh, it's number 85, whatever." And all of a sudden, as it was just outside the top 40 or just entered the top 40, that's when you get the invitation to be on top of the pops. They won't have you on unless you're in the top 40, which is an irony because if you're 41 and you get on top of the pops, you'd go zooming up the charts. But until you get to 40, and you might never get to 40, and you might never have the hit that you would have had, I always thought they should have looked a bit more of a broader sense and said, well, who's at number 60? That's a good record. We could help that get along because that is an absolutely fantastic record. But anyway, they were very strict, rigorous about it. If you're in the top 40, you get an invitation to tour the pops. So we got that invitation, got on, and it didn't actually hit me until that was a Thursday. And then, in actual fact, if I remember rightly, our first Top of the Pops, I think, was live, which means it was recorded on Thursday, but it was live. Because if there's a bank holiday Monday, instead of recording it on the Wednesday and transmitting on the Thursday, it was live on Thursday. That was it. So Friday came and went, and then Saturday I decided I'm going to pop down to the high street and do a bit of shopping as you normally do. Didn't think about it. Mr. Blasé, just going down the road, and there were these bunch of girls, must have been about 8 or 10 girls, teenagers, 16 to 18, walking along together. I'm just walking along, minding my own business, looking in the shops, or maybe come back for that later, And as I'm walking past them, and they're kind of coming past me, I just happened to look in their direction, and one of them looked me in the face, and I saw her face change. Like, it's not that she'd seen something horrible, but like her eyes were just like big, and she went. And I thought, what's she looking at? I'm like, why she got that reaction? Carried on walking, and for a second, she must have been obviously. Sorry, my phone's running out of battery. Let me just put it on charge.
That's all right. It was certainly a little reminder of you singing. I thought you managed to edit it beautifully. I thought you showing off your production values. I thought it was really good. Your face popped up. There you go. Fantastic. Cool stuff. Is your battery dying? Are you okay? I'll tell you what we'll do then, Andy. If your battery's dying, we'll take a little break and we'll come straight back after these messages. Welcome back, and you're joining me with Andy from Modern Romance, who was talking about having just been on Top of the Pops. He gets recognised walking down the street, and he's about to tell us what happens next. What happened next?
Well, as I said, I'm walking down the street, and her eyes just like, disbelief. And I'm so indifferent to it all. It just hasn't affected me. I'm sort of looking behind me, thinking, what's behind me? What's she looking at? Carried on walking. And as they walked past me, and we sort of kind of passed each other, I heard her screaming to her friend, going, "It's him! It's him!" And I thought, who? What the hell? And I heard her saying, "It's him! It's him! He was on the TV last night. He's in that band." And then I thought, oh, she's talking about me. And for the first time ever, and I don't get embarrassed, very rare, I felt embarrassed because I thought, oh, what do you do? Well, I don't know what you do in a situation like this. Someone's just to recognise you because you're on telly. Never been on telly. And I'm walking down the street, I remember thinking, right, I could feel their eyes burning into my back. They're all looking, going, yeah, that's him, that's him. I could hear them all nattering away. And I thought, Andy, this is not the time to trip over or do anything stupid. Just keep walking. Plant one foot in front of the other. Do not trip over. Do not do anything stupid. Not the time, really self-conscious of every step I took, everything I did. I thought, just get into the distance and calm down. This is weird. This is strange, Very strange, very, very bizarre first time of being recognised. I mean, after that, it happened obviously many, many, many times, numerous, But the first time, and when you're not expecting it, because, as I said, I was quite nonchalant about the whole thing. To a degree, I still am now. But you would have thought that a 20-year-old, 21-year-old suddenly being on top of the pops, it would resonate and do something. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was like really excited about it and doing it. But it didn't have an effect on me whereby, there's no like euphoria the next day. Like, it's a job. I've done it. That's it. What's the next thing we're doing? Oh, we're doing a radio show next week. Oh, okay, right, we'll do that, And I look back now and I think, how on earth was I so calm and collected? Because
it was a whirlwind in those days, and people got thrust into the public eye. And people forget, because nowadays we've got such a fragmented audience. The TV ratings are nowhere near what they did at Top of the Pops. Top of the Pops were in the millions, and you saw something on Top of the Pops, and you were an instant star, weren't you?
I mean, yeah, I was. And the thing is, as I said, I look back on it now and I think, how did I manage to cope with it, or to just sort of, I almost disregarded it and treated it as, well, it's a job, someone's got to do it, sort of thing. Not in that horrible way, but it was a job, and it was like a job I loved, and I enjoy it now. I mean, I feel very privileged. I don't think it hit me at the time that I was privileged. It was just a job. I'm doing it. It's what I've always wanted to do. Lovely. What's next? I remember someone, maybe this sums it up. I remember someone coming up to me at a gig, backstage afterwards, and obviously starry-eyed and everything. And as a drummer, I have my own heroes. They are people that, with one hand, me with both hands and both feet, they could outdrum me with one hand. Absolute amazing people, right? And so I've got my own people that I look up to, and there are people that I've seen and thought, God, I feel like giving up when I see these people, because I'm never going to get to that. So I'll just give up now and go home, that kind of thing. And I remember once backstage, someone came and said to me, oh, chatting away, and she went, do you know what? You're the best drummer I've ever seen. And I almost said to her, well, you've got no idea about drumming, then have you, love? And I thought, no, you can't say that. She's paid you a compliment. Shut up, take it, and just take it as it's meant to be. To really stop myself, because my initial reaction was to say, you don't know what you're talking about. Have you heard so-and-so? What are you talking about? I'm the best drummer. I was like, I thought, no, you can't do this, But I think that in itself probably sums up why I wasn't like that, because I really do believe that once you see, if the press say the most amazing thing, once you start believing that, you're lost. I really think
you're absolutely right. If you remember that effectively you're a product, and I know a lot of people object to that, never believe your own PR. And the reason so many people in this business go off the rails is they get built up, and the press used to love to build people up. They still do it. And then what happens is they get to the top and then they come down again, and they clamber for those days again. And if you don't keep it real, it can really screw you up, can't it?
I mean, I had people saying to me, because obviously the 80s non-romance, I made no money at all. I was on a wage. It was the way it was structured. There were management that were doing certain things, and certain people in the band were doing certain things. And when I left the band, I left with absolutely nothing at the time. I left the band and then took over the name many years later. But I left the band and said, right, I don't want anything to do with this. And then people would say to me, but, you had all those hit records. You should have had all this money and all that. I said, yeah, I know. And they said, aren't you bitter? And I said, well, no, I haven't got time to be bitter. I want to get on with my life, do other things and enjoy myself. As it turns out, many years later, I got together with one of the guys. We reformed the band, whatever. But, just looking back on it now, I could, the same way that people get built up and hanker for that thing, well, we got built up and then I left with nothing. And I could have sat there going, but I could have had this and I could have had that. Do you know what? It's one of those things. You move on, you get on with other things. And as it turned out, I was able to, it's a bit like working for a company as a T-boy and getting thrown out, although I didn't get thrown out, but working as a T-boy and then leaving. And then years later, you're the director of that company. Well, that's exactly what's happening. I am the director of Modern Romance Limited. I do own the band. I do run the band. And it's one of those things. But in between, where people were saying, oh, well, you're really bitter. You must be really bitter. Why must I be? That's like saying you must be really into yourself when you're up there. No, you mustn't be. That's exactly what you mustn't be.
And that's why it's so good, Andy, that people come on here and they talk about it, because there's a number of assumptions that people make. Firstly, when they see you, they assume that because you've been on Top of the Pops and you've had all these fantastic hits and so on and so forth, you must be incredibly wealthy. And a lot of people think that of musicians, and
Yeah.
actually, it's a job, and it's sometimes what I call feast and famine, isn't it? Sometimes you got lots of money, and other times you haven't got any. And as you say, as you said at the very beginning of this chat, is that you're a jobbing musician. At the moment, you haven't got any income coming in, other than maybe a few royalties and things like that. But
I've got nothing for the next year.
Yeah.
Right. For example, and also, I mean, you saying that, I remember we did a gig once. I think it was in High Wycombe. There was a club in High Wycombe.
Like High Wycombe, yeah.
Yeah, we did this nightclub, this PA. We did a PA, and then we were chatting and signing autographs, you know. And this girl came up to me, she goes, chat to me, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, she goes, I bet you're really loaded. And I thought, number one, if I was loaded, what the hell? But still, you make that assumption. No, not at all. But I said to her, all I could say to her, well, not as much as you'd think. Because I thought, I can't say we're actually very poor, and we're on wages of £40 a week.
£40 a week.
Yes. So I couldn't really say we were on 40 quid a week. It was 30 at one point, then it went to 40. I actually I was actually working when I joined Modern Romance, and they rehearsed during the day. So I had the choice of, I thought, well, if I join them, I have to give up my job and go and sign on the dole. So I gave up the job to go and sign on the dole and get, I think it's 25 quid a week at the time, to go and join Modern Romance. And that 25 quid would put petrol in my little Mini, so I could drive to East London and rehearse. But that's what you do for something you love. I mean, you would do that, you know, most people do that for the person they love. Well, this is a career that I love, or a job that I love, or a pastime at the time that I loved, and I wanted to make it a career. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Although I did think when I went home, I thought, when I tell my parents, oh, guess what? I've just packed in my job. I mean, I wasn't giving them any money anyway, because as a general rule, Greek Cypriots don't take money from their kids when you stay home. They just, we just don't do it. So I wasn't paying them any money. But still, they like to think that you've got your independence, you've got your money, you know, they tell people, yeah, he works, he does this, very proud, like the Italians, oh, my son does this, whatever. What does your son do? He's out of work, he's signing on the dole. It wasn't something that my parents would really relish. But I went home and I thought, this is where the war starts. And I went, oh, by the way, I've given up my job so I can join this band, because I've got a funny feeling they're going to do something good, so it's worth doing. And they went, oh, all right then. And I thought, where are my parents? They've been, these are aliens, these are not my parents. Because it really wasn't the reaction I expected. I thought I was going to get murdered. And they went, oh, okay, if you think that's the right thing to do. And I was like, well, yeah. You know, a bit dumbstruck, thinking, why is there no shouting going on? What's going on, you know? Yeah, they were quite, they weren't enthusiastic about it, but they were quite affable, which I thought was nice.
Yeah, it's great. It's great when they encourage you. They didn't want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, but it's you can work on that basis, and it's great. They're behind you. Did they come along to any of your gigs?
They did. They did in the 80s, of course. They did. And I remember at first, when we first started, you know, I first told them I'm in this band, I'm doing that. My dad always just like, it never amounts to anything as a musician. You won't do anything, you know. And then I remember this great story. My relatives were telling me they went to this local cafe in Cyprus. It was on holiday in Cyprus in 1981. And Everybody Salsa had just come out. It was being played on the radio everywhere. And he's sitting in this cafe chatting, and it came on the radio. And he started shouting, "This is my son! This is my son!" And I thought, oh, how things have changed from he's never going to make it. All of a sudden, this is my son. You know.
Brilliant. But it's lovely when your parents make you feel proud, because they are the ones who keep you grounded as well, aren't they? It doesn't matter. I was discussing this with a lot of very famous people. They sort of turn around the height of their fame. They go home and you must put the marmalade away, or you clear up after yourself. They are the ones who ground you. And they're really important, aren't they, family?
No, that is important. That is important. But the funny thing is, they then decided, obviously, you know, being parents, they would gather around the TV when Modern Romance was. So I'm watching TV, watching something. You know, I didn't watch a lot of TV in the 80s, I must admit, because I was out most of the time. I missed, you know, when things like Minder was on, which I had the Sweeney. Yeah. I never used to really watch them because I was out doing stuff. I watch them all now on you know the channels we have now. But I'd be watching something, I'll just watch something for a little while, and they'd come in and go, right, okay, then we'll gather around and put the TV on because, well, on Romance or on, Crackerjack or whatever the hell we were on at the time. And I think, well, I can't possibly sit here and watch this with you. It was just that most, because they say, oh, look at you. I know, I was there. Don't tell me. They'd be, oh, look at you, oh, look, oh, it's got nice little shoes on. I don't think, right, that's it. So whenever they gathered round to watch TV, I'd say, right, that's it, I'm off now. And I'd go upstairs to my room. I just couldn't watch us on TV with everybody else because it just felt very bizarre, very strange. I'd come down after and I'd go, oh, yes, we saw you, yeah, it was really good, and I'd go, right, It was almost a kind of shyness. I don't know what it was. I just felt very awkward having them watch me on TV and watch it, and also watching myself on TV. I don't even do it now, not because I feel awkward. I think now it's more a case of, well, I was there and I did it. Why do I need to watch it? I know exactly what happened. I don't really need to watch it.
And there are a lot of actors and a lot of performers who do find it very difficult to watch themselves. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just one of those things. I'll listen back in the studio, obviously, if we record something, because you have to listen and pick out things. Go, oh, I could do that better. That's different. Watching a TV performance is very bizarre. Watching yourself on TV is a very strange thing. As you said, most TV people, most actors and singers and people and presenters will tell you that it's. There are some people that do watch themselves because they want to see how they did or whatever. I've watched performances of us sometimes and thought, I'll watch and see something happened in this song. I remember on the night, I want to listen to it, watch it and see who did what, because somebody, I remember, played the wrong note and I want to remind myself so I can tell them that's not an A, that's an A sharp, whatever, But other than that, people say, oh yeah, we're going to watch this. And I go, yeah, you watch it by yourself, I'm not watching it.
So who played the A sharp? Who played the wrong note?
Oh, I'll tell you what, actually, there's one thing that we've now kind of like taken upon ourselves that is part of the band.
Yeah.
You know the trumpet bit in Besh's Ever Lives? The second,
yes, of course.
The second bit is right. And one day, Dan, the trumpet player, who we actually share a trumpet player with level 42, which can be annoying because sometimes they book him first, so we have to get someone else. Anyway, so he's played that note, and instead of going, he played it flat. It's like this note in the middle of nowhere. And we were in hysterics, right? And it's on YouTube. You'll see it, and you'll see Nats and I look at each other, and we're laughing. Anyway, we were telling him about it at one particular gig. We said, yeah, do you remember that gig? You did this, and he went, yeah, I know. He goes, it's just a natural place for your fingers to go when you're playing. And I realised when I played it, I thought, well, no, what am I doing, Anyway, lo and behold, that very same gig that we told him about it, he goes and does it again. It's as though we put it in his head and he just played it again.
No, but you're going to make the poor guy nervous at every time. Now, I know what happens because you do it naturally. You're off. And as soon as somebody says you're going to mess up, you mess up. It's human.
Yeah, well, we were in hysterics. I couldn't even sing at this point. I had to walk away.
Oh, guys.
Come back.
No wonder you always gives level 42 the first gig. It's got scarred for life. It's a mean side we've discovered about you today, Andy. It's a mean side. The other thing you mentioned, you should tell us that you mentioned about drummers who you admire. Who do you think is really good?
Oh, well, listen, there's the obvious one because I used to love Phil Collins in Genesis as a drummer.
Yeah.
And then I loved him when he became the singer of Genesis. And it's ironic because a lot of people go, you used to be the drummer, didn't you? And I go, yeah, I'll sing there. Oh, a bit of a Phil Collins, are we? And I think, yeah, I wish. Anyway. But there's Phil Collins as one of the obvious ones. But there are loads of other people like Jeff Porcaro.
Yeah.
So Dave Weckl. Dave Weckle's just a phenomenal drummer. These are all people that most people, unless you're a musician, the average house person won't know them because they're session drummers and they're fantastic and they're amazing. And obviously you've got people like Ginger Baker that everyone knows. And there is just so many. That's why when people say to me, I'm the drummer from the drummer from, he died a few weeks ago. Come back to me in a minute. I mean, there were just so many great drummers from the 70s, from the 80s, and even now. And then the people that everybody aspires to playing like. And the thing is as well, I've noticed on YouTube, a couple of times I've come across drummers that are just set their kit up, and they'll set a camera up above them so you can see down onto the kit as well, see what they're doing. That idea came from Dave Weckl, because I went to see Dave Weckl once, and I saw him at Ronnie Scott's. I was literally 4 feet away. I was right at the front. I actually had my feet on the stage. I was sitting back, like I am now, with my feet up on the stage, using the stage as my little footstool. And he was playing, but what they had a screen behind him which showed what you could see if you were above him, because he was doing all this stuff, and and the whole room were musicians. 90% of who were in the room were musicians, and everyone's going, "What's he doing? How's he doing that? You know, what the hell?" Because we're hearing all this stuff with, when I say minimal movement from the shoulders up. You say, what the hell is he doing with his hands? What's he doing with his feet? How is he doing this? And the only way you could know was to look at the screen behind him, which was a camera looking down from above, and you go, right, you know, and then you go, no, the man is a genius. If you can do that, you know. And now a lot of people are doing that. And I'm seeing people on YouTube do this, young kids, and I'm thinking, flipping hell, these guys can really play. The unfortunate thing about me, aside from the fact that I haven't really been playing drums for the last 20 years because I've been the singer of the band, I'll sit down once or twice a year and have a mess about, but it's not the same as playing week in, week out.
Sure, you've got to keep your hands.
Yeah, but I just play every now and then just for fun and stuff. But I've noticed as well that, you know, the standard of drumming has really gone up, and I don't know if it's because people are watching YouTube videos and learning from these drummers, because all these top drummers have now got tutorials on DVD. And you can, and even if it's not a tutorial, you can watch your favourite drummer. See, me, before, I used to pay and go and see a gig. So if I wanted to see Billy Cobham, I'd have to go and see Billy Cobham live with his band, pay 25 quid, 20 quid for the experience to go and watch a whole gig. But although I love all the music and I appreciate, you know, whoever was on bass at the time, you know, I'd want to see the drummer because that's my main focus, that's my instrument. Whereas now you can dedicate the whole night to watching stuff on YouTube, watching your favourite drummers, watching things they do, trying to emulate what they're doing and doing whatever, which is fantastic. But the other thing on my side, which is a negative, is I never had lessons, and I really wish I had, because the advantage of lessons is I feel that it's like if you teach yourself to read or teach yourself a language, let's say, you would learn the words, you would learn to say them maybe, but it'll take you a while. But if you've got someone speaking to you in French all the time, you'll learn a lot quicker. If you've got someone teaching you drums, instead of me trying to master a particular movement on the drums and taking 3 months to master it, if someone had showed me, I'd be like, that's how you do it. Because I've heard stuff on record and think, how the hell is he doing that? It sounds like he's got 3 hands. But it's a bit of an illusion. You substitute what one hand's doing and do something else with your foot for a split second to give your other hand time to move somewhere else. And unless you've seen it, it will take you ages to work it out, because you're listening to it, how on earth did they do this? Had I had lessons, I definitely would have progressed faster. But listen, you know, hindsight's a great thing. And also, you know, who was going to pay for lessons? My parents, once I started playing drums, would tell me to shut that noise up because it was really loud. You know, let's face it, so it's the loudest instrument in the band acoustically. So they weren't going to pay for me to have lessons and encouraged me to make even more noise. So I had a window at home where I could, a certain window of time where I could play. You know, I could start at 5 and finish at 7 or maybe 8, but beyond that, you're then encroaching on people's time at home because they've come from work, they want to sit down and have their dinner. So you've got to be a bit, you know, you've got to be a bit understanding, and you know.
Did the neighbours ever come over and knock on your door and complain?
Oh yes, oh yes. We actually got.
That's like a regular thing.
Probably not the sort of thing I should be saying online. I don't know, but we actually got into fisticuffs with the neighbours over it.
Oh, did you?
Oh yes, you know. And I remember the same neighbours, when I appeared on Top of the Pops, the next day, she went, "Oh, hello, I saw you on TV last night." And I thought, last week you would have killed me, but now all of a sudden, now that I've been on TV, you want to say hello to me because you want to say, "Yeah, we live next to the guy that's in that band that was on Top of the Pops." Yeah, we know him. He's our next door neighbour. I thought, how funny, how people are strange, you know. But we actually got into fisticuffs, literally proper. The police were called as well. They called the police, and you know.
Good heavens! See, in the
Oh,
good days, if you'd had a TV crew, this is where I would have come in. You had a TV crew on. You could have been the first reality TV stars.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, it would have made the Kardashians look tame because proper, 3 or 4 times, you know.
Right.
But the thing is, at the end of the day, they sort of accepted that. Well, look, we live next door to somebody, and obviously, I've got a bit of sympathy for them because they were listening to me in the early days. But you know, and obviously, anyone learning an instrument, you know, it's like living next door to somebody.
I have a lot of sympathy for them. If my neighbour started to learn the drums, I think I'll be round there. Forget the Kardashians. I'll be round with a TV crew and everything. Yeah.
It's like living next door to living next door to someone who's just learning to play the violin or the trumpet. It's fucking awful. But you know, all of a sudden I could play, and but even when I got to the stage when I could actually play, I taught myself and was playing. And remember my formative years when I was learning to play was on the bed, so they didn't actually hear any of this.
Yeah, you said, no, absolutely.
So when I eventually got a drum kit, by that time I could play. Not brilliantly, but I could play, and I could play in time and do things. So it's not as though they were listening to a load of noise and going, "What the hell is all this about?" And what I would do is I would turn the music up. This is how I learned. I would turn the records full blast and drum along to them, whichever record I wanted to. And I'd get to the stage where I'd drum to 2 or 3 tracks and think, well, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But then it got to the stage where I could play the whole side of an album, quickly get up and flip it over and play the other side, drenched in sweat by the end of it. But I was building, that's what it is. You build up the stamina slowly by just doing this stuff.
And you're right, drummers work. I mean, the amount of physical energy and everything, being a drummer on a massive concert tour or something, it's quite exhausting, isn't it?
Do you know what? I can honestly say I never ever got exhausted or tired, but I think it's probably adrenaline keeping you going and excitement and love of what you're doing. But I do remember when we were doing some of our tours, and I remember when we were doing our Far East tours, we went to Japan, we went to Thailand, we went to Singapore, there's all these things. And Lewis, the guy that was played percussion with us, lovely bloke, we had this competition where as soon as we'd finish, we'd take off our T-shirts and see who could wring the most sweat out of them, because we were drenched. Both drummer and percussionist going mad. It's Latin-based music, so it's all percussion, it's all drums. And we'd say, right, okay, go on and beat that then, go on. And try and see how much sweat we could wring out. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen any pictures of me in the 80s, but I was like a sticking set.
You were. You were. A skinny lad, weren't you?
Skinny, but it was all muscle as well. I was like Bruce Lee. I couldn't fight like Bruce Lee, but
you were svelte, like a gazelle, all muscle.
Yeah, and it was all muscle. Yeah, there was not one bit of fat. If only I could go back to those days. But I love my food too much.
That's that chicken we heard about on the Barbie. That's how you get that little sizzling noise. It's going to be good.
If you ever get a chance to come round here for some chicken, mate, you come round.
That knock on the door is me, Andy. I'll be there. I love it.
I'll make you chicken the likes of which you've never had. I'm telling you.
Oh, really? Are you a good cook?
I'm very good. No, I'm not a good cook, but I make a mean Greek barbecue, not a normal one. And many times I've done a barbecue, and we'll sit there, we cook it, and then I'll take a bit off while it's cooking, and I'll even say to myself, "What the hell have I cooked here? This is amazing." It's obviously it's a process over the years. I've mastered it and realised you need to do this, do that, little tricks. But even I make it, and I think, wow, I've never eaten chicken as good as this anywhere.
So what's normally tip? I have lots of the famous chefs come onto this show, and they all give me their tips. They work in 5-star hotels and all this sort of stuff. What is your tip, Andy, for best chicken, Greek chicken? Go on then.
Best chicken, right. One of the biggest secrets is the way that you skewer it, believe it or not.
The way you skewer it, okay. You've got to catch it first, don't you?
The way you skewer it.
Right, okay.
Well, you skewer it while it's still alive. Skewer it whole while it's still alive. No, I'm joking. It's the way that you skewer it. A lot of people, they put chicken on the skewer. We're talking about a big like spit roast chicken,
Yes.
like a rotisserie. So it turns all the time.
By the way, we're going to get all the letters in, and we're going to get all the letters in. Don't skewer a chicken when it's alive. Don't do that. He's joking.
Yeah, I am joking. I am joking. Skewer the missus, but not the chicken. Anyway. But no, the chicken, what a lot of people do is they skewer the chicken and they leave gaps. Oh, you've got, no, don't leave gaps. Because when you leave gaps, because it's turning as well, it's cooking all the way around, all around the sides, it's cooking too quickly. And that's why it dries out.
If you leave the gaps, it dries. That would make sense. So you leave the gaps, it's going to cook in between, it will dry it. Okay.
Yeah, so you don't leave gaps. You push it up as tight as you can because it will cook. It will cook. But you don't want to leave gaps because it's simultaneously while it's spinning, the sides are getting heat as well. So it's been getting cooked from all angles.
Okay.
So you push it as tight as you can together. So only the bit that's exposed to the heat while it's turning, only that bit's getting the heat at the time. And you have it high up as well. People have it too low down. Now have it high up so it cooks nicely. Just before it finishes, lower it down so you crisp the outside. You get a nice crispy skin if you want the skin on. But the chicken, and I'm not joking, I will get the skewer and I will hold it this way, like that, down.
Yeah. Oh, you're frozen. You're frozen at your skewer moment. Oh, are you back with us?
Hold the phone, so I can't show you, but put it down.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're back with us.
That's it, we're back now. Right, okay. Yeah, and that's just the chicken. The chicken will just literally fall off the skewer.
But you just
have to be careful because it just falls everywhere because it's so...
Oh, you're sounding like a Dalek now. You're sounding like a Dalek. I believe.
Am I back on now?
Good sound effect, actually. It was like, it's going to be good.
Am I back on now?
Yeah, you're back on now. You've got some interesting sound effects, some of which you must listen to because you can use them in your records. It sounds really good. All that watching will make me scratch. It's making me scratch.
So anyway, yes. So basically, it's the chicken.
Okay.
Don't squash too tight because you dry it out. That's first.
It's a great tip. And what do you marinate it in?
Do you know what? I don't.
You don't? Just straight chicken?
No, I don't marinate it because if you marinate it, if you get somebody who doesn't like the marinade, they're pretty stuffed really. So I just cook basic chicken. Okay. We make a Greek salad. We've got all oils and dips and stuff you can put.
I love a Greek salad.
Yeah, we've got dips and stuff you can use afterwards because if you do it for everybody, it's like not everybody likes onions. So we have a bowl of onions, chopped onions you can put in your thing. Not everybody likes coriander. So we have coriander salad.
I like coriander, yeah.
So we just basically have all the salad bits that people make their own, but yeah, I mean we have so many different things that we have.
Do you have bread? Do you put the bread out and so you make a souvlaki or whatever it is?
Yeah, we have pita bread. And what you do is you put the pita bread on, and while it's warm, don't heat it up too much, but you warm it both sides, so you can cut it in the middle, cut it in half, and then open it so it's like a pocket.
Yeah.
What you do is all cubed pieces of meat that you mix with the salad. Together, because otherwise you get salad at the bottom and meat at the top. You mix them together and then put them all in the bread, loads of lemon, and you're off.
Oh, sounds brilliant. Well, I'm going to hold you to that invitation, Andy. I will be round. As soon as lockdown is over, I'll be rushing round to try that chicken. It sounds divine.
Brilliant. I mean, my pleasure. Seriously, it'd be really good.
Well, I'll definitely do that. It's fantastic.
I'm actually just doing a new barbecue area.
Okay, cool.
In the lockdown period, I've designed a new barbecue area. And got a little outside kitchen area thing now. So yeah, I've got my TV.
I'll hold you to that. I look forward to that. It's fantastic.
I've got an outside TV as well.
Oh, have you? Okay, so we can watch you. We can watch the first version of Top of the Pops.
No. We watch things like proper stuff like football and tennis in the garden, like you should do.
Well, hopefully they'll be back as well. Now we talk about. I mean, a lot of bands that I talk to, it is like being a big family on the road. And a big families on the road, they have great times, but they also have a lot of fights, don't they?
We don't, actually.
What about with the original Modern Romance, when that was there? Talk to me about life on the road with them. Make it easy. Where did it go wrong?
Right, bear with me 1 second, because I've got my son standing here waiting to say something to me.
Oh, is he? I'll tell you what we do. We go to a break. We go to a break. You talk to your son, and straight after that, Andy's going to answer these questions. We'll see you after these messages.
Okay. Right. You know when you're done, all right. Right. So
welcome back. So Andy has sorted out his domestic, and we were just in the process of talking about a domestic. And sometimes life on the road and life when you're together can be a bit tough. And we were just talking about the original, the first modern romance, and what went wrong.
Right. The original modern romance. In actual fact, there were 2 incarnations of the original modern romance, and this being the third with me as a singer. But the first 2 incarnations, I was a drummer. We had a singer for a couple of the singles, and then we had another singer for Best Years of Our Lives and High Life and Walking in the Rain and all the rest of them. Generally, the band got on well with each other, but we got on much better the second incarnation when the first singer left and we got a new singer. The new singer arrived, and he was just a nicer bloke, much nicer guy. Far more talented, and I can say that, and I don't care about anything that anyone says. In my opinion, I'm allowed. It's been proven that he's far more talented anyway, far better singer, far better songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, so he had everything. But he was a nicer bloke. We got on, and we used to actually sing songs on the bus on the way to gigs, and we'd sing Sloop John B, and all different kinds. We'd do Beatles songs, and we'd be doing all the harmonies. That's when I realised I could sing, because what happened was, we'd do these songs in the car, on the bus on the way. And one day, one of them turned and I said, "Do you know what? You've actually got a good voice." Have I? No, yeah, right. You're on backing vocals from now, and you're going to do all the harmonies. Oh, if you say so. And that was it. I started doing the harmonies. It was in the early days. And as time went by, I became more and more and more involved in vocals until eventually he was like, "Well, actually, mate, you're out front doing the vocals now. Off you go. Bye. You're a singer." But yeah, we used to have great fun. And I mean, we've got some fantastic stories and funny stories. And I'm actually, I'm writing a book, don't you?
Ah, good. I was going to hope you'll write a book.
I don't know if you can see there. And can you see these?
Yeah, I can. Are those your notes?
Yeah. They're my diaries from the 80s.
Well, I'll tell you what, pick one up, pick out one diary and pick the 7th of July, because that's my birthday, and read out what it says. 7th of July, one of those diaries. Come on then, here we go. This is a moment.
Of July.
Okay, 7th of July, let's have a look.
Right, hang on a second.
There we go, you've disappeared. Move back in shot so I can see you.
Yeah, one second, just get 7th of July. Let me just get 7th of July page open, 1 minute.
Okay.
7th of July.
Okay. So remember that. I'm looking forward to the present. Maybe we'll have a bit of that chicken for my birthday. Right. 7th. Right. Which year is it, Andy? Which year is it? 7th of July.
This is 7th of July, 82. Let me just put the light on.
Okay. There we go. 7th of July, 82.
It's getting a bit dark in here, actually.
It is getting a bit dark. That's what happened with Mike Reeve when he chatted to me. We chatted for days and days, and all I could see at the end was his smiling teeth. It was glorious. Check it out. Right. 7th of July, 1982. What is the entry in your diary on my birthday?
Right. Well, apparently on that day,
you've got on your side, by the way. You know that your head is like you're now lying down. Oh, there we go. You're back. Hello. Go for it. Yeah, go for it. 7th of July, 1982. Am I still
the right way up if I do this or am I upside down?
Okay, here we go. That's okay. You're on the right way up.
Am I? Okay, that's good.
Our Australian viewers, and we've got quite a few of those actually. So hello, good day.
Am I the right way up?
Yeah, the right way up. Good. Go for it.
Okay, let me just get. I've got a stand here for this phone. I can do that.
I love all this. This is your production quality stuff, This is what they love. You're shoving a bit of book under there. It's on an old Coke can. It's going good. Okay, that's it. That's perfect. That's
there we go.
You're ready for the close-up, Mr. DeMille. Okay, here we go. Right. 7th of July, 1982.
Calling Cecil. Cecil, where are you? Okay. Anyway. 7th of July. Right, apparently I got up at 8 o'clock. See, this is the thing. I cannot remember this. Apparently, I got dropped off by Tracy's mum to catch a bus.
Who was Tracy? Who's Tracy?
I can't remember who Tracy is.
Tracy, if you're watching and you dropped Andy off on the 7th of July, 1982, write into me and I'll give you a little bit of my chicken. Okay.
Right. Well, anyway, apparently Tracy's mum dropped me off to catch a bus into town.
Right. Oh, you know how to live.
And obviously, I had a dirty stop out the night before somewhere. I don't know where, that with Tracy, wherever, I don't know. This is the thing. A lot of this stuff I've put in here, I read it and I think, why can't I remember it? I mean, seriously, we're all grown-ups here, generally, right? I'll say, went to such and such a club and met Laura, for example.
Yeah.
Went to her house, fantastic sex. Went home the next day. I can't remember Laura. I can't remember the fantastic sex. I can't remember where Laura lives, what area I was in.
I think that happened after Laura left. I think you might have been alone.
No, the thing is, I don't drink. I've never done drugs. I don't smoke cigarettes even.
Good.
So I think, why can I not remember this stuff? But there's one very simple reason. I was such a man whore, as they call it these days, that it all kind of melded into one. And it's
Were you
like,
a bit of a tart, Andy? Were you a bit of a tart?
Well, listen, let's face it. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. So what's left? I don't gamble.
Okay.
Women. That was it. That was my thing. So anyway, so apparently
Tracy was one of those. She was one of your conquests. Well, I hope she will write in. I'm sure she's lovely.
I'm sure she is, but you know, I was young and frivolous in my.
How old were you in 1982? How old were you in 1982?
I was 24.
There you go. Okay.
So there you go.
So Tracy dropped you off. That was kind
then
of.
I went and borrowed. Then I went round to my sister's car and apparently nicked her car. Right, borrowed it. That's my way of saying borrow. Nicked her car.
Yeah.
Where did I go after that? I went to a place called the Fridge, which I can't even remember.
Okay. There's a place in Brixton called the Fridge. Would it have been in Brixton?
I don't know if it was that one. I went to the Fridge and I said useless. Then I went to a place called the Villa, which was in Gants Hill. In
Gants Hill, yeah.
Which we went to all the time. Met up with the rest of the boys, the rest of the band. Stayed there till 3:30, dancing, chatting, laughing around.
Darts? You played darts, did you?
No, dancing around.
Oh, dancing. I was going to say, I quite like the bit of bully.
Met a girl called Dawn and went to her house.
Oh, Dawn!
And then went home.
Oh, right.
I don't know where Dawn lived. She must have lived in Essex somewhere. And then I went home.
Oh, fantastic. Well, there we are. So how many years do you have of your diaries then? Because there's quite a stack there.
I've got 8. I started the diary before I joined Run Romance. I don't know, something just inspired me to start a diary.
Okay.
No, actually, I'll tell you what inspired me. It's really quite weird. I don't know if anyone else has ever done this. Basically, I started it probably when I was about 17, 18. Started keeping a diary, but it was more of a log than a diary, a log of clothing. The reason being, I was going out to, I can name you the clubs I was going to Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week. Some nights I'd go to 2 clubs. I'd go to one for 3-4 hours and then finish that one and go to the other one. So then I had this dilemma. I thought, well, and it's the sort of thing a woman would probably do, but as a man who's proud of, who was at the time, and still am to a degree, but was proud of the way he looked and wanted to always be clean and presentable. And let's face it, I was always on the pool because I didn't do all the other things that people did. I didn't drink, I didn't go out and get plastered, I didn't, take drugs. So for me, it was all about the women, and I loved being in the company of women. But I think, hang on, if I go to Club A, let's just say the Tottenham Royal on Monday, and I wear, just for clarity, a yellow outfit,
right,
bright yellow, right? Just we all remember it. And then Tuesday I wear the blue, and Wednesday the green, and I go like that. And it turns out that 7 days later I wear the yellow one again to the Tottenham Royal. Yeah. They're going to think, well, has he got no other clothes? You wore that last week.
You've got to be careful when you're going out there, absolutely. Yeah.
So I thought I've got to be careful. So I had started making notes of what I wore. So if I wore the yellow thing on the Monday, it didn't matter if I wore it the following Tuesday, because Tuesday's a different club.
Different club, different place.
Yeah. So I started doing that. Then, after a couple of years of doing that, I started adding little notes and going, oh yeah, met so-and-so on that night. I'll make a note of that. That could be important. And then it blossomed into a proper diary from
That
that point
sounds
onwards.
brilliant. So how many outfits did you have?
2. No.
I had a yellow and
no,
green one and a green and yellow one. It's got to be.
I had quite a lot, but because I was going to say, I mean, over the space of 7 days, I'd probably go to 10 clubs, 11 clubs.
Yeah.
So that's 11 outfits.
Yeah,
so
and the press are following you, and they take pictures, and you don't really see them in the same outfit in the press and all that.
No. This is before Modern Romance.
Oh, before? You were a dandy even before then, okay.
This is before, when I was going out just to clubs.
Right.
So I thought, the chances are, if I wear, for example, you said for clarity, the yellow one on Monday, and I wear something different Tuesday, and it might turn out that I'll go, oh yeah, I wear the yellow one, and I'll turn up and go to the same club that I was at last week. So if I look in the book and go, I wore the yellow one last week, we wear the pink one, so the green one, whatever, it's something different. Oops.
And where did you get them? They were glorious colours. Where did you get your outfits from?
I got a lot of my clothes at that time. Funny enough, I was buying better clothes before Modern Romance than when I was in Modern Romance, because when I joined Modern Romance, I had no money.
Right.
Whereas before that, I was working, and I was buying all my clothes. I don't know if you remember a shop, I don't even know if it still exists, to be honest. I was buying my clothes from a shop called Woodhouse.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, cool.
Right, so it was I remember I went with some friends once. They made really good quality clothes.
Yeah. Oh, they probably still last.
Yeah, this was proven when one day we went on a day trip to Clacton, and we dressed up. So we were going, it was like 15 guys and 15 girls on this coach, or 20 guys, 20 girls. We booked the whole coach, whole bunch of us all going, not girlfriend, boyfriend, but there were women, and you got to look nice, whatever. So wore nice clothes. Then when we got to the beach, this madness grabbed us, and 3 of us said, should we go in the water with our clothes on? Who cares? It's a really hot day. So we went in the sea with our clothes. Their clothes were absolutely ruined. They took them home, washed them, and they could never wear them again. Seawater just completely destroyed them.
There you go.
My clothes, I went in, came out, looked bedraggled like everyone else, took them to dry cleaners, came back like brand new.
And you rinsed them out just to see how much water you got, and that's why it went to the sweat thing. That's how you got the inspiration.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. And Woodhouse, they'll be very proud of hearing that story if they're still around. And I suspect, sadly, they're probably not. I'm sure they'll send you lots of other suitably rainbow-coloured suits as a thank you for the promo.
I wish they would.
Yeah, really, really good. But on the road, and this is getting to the key of it, is that all the pressures and things like that. What was the catalyst for saying no more with that Modern Romance?
Right. The catalyst for me was, well, there were many small little things that added together became a bigger thing. For example, performing on Top of the Pops live on a Thursday, and then going to Stringfellows after, which was the club that I was in every night. Now, fortunately, being a inverted commas pop star at the time, free entry into Stringfellows. I've still got a celebrity membership even now. I can go whenever I want.
Yeah.
Even though now it's a pole dancing place, so it's not really what I want to get into. But anyway, at the time it was a club. It was one of the best nightclubs in the UK. Definitely one of the best in London. So I used to go every night. And the worst thing was going there and people offering to buy you a drink and me having to say no, because I thought, if I say yes, then I might have to buy a round one day, and I haven't got the money. I just can't afford to buy a round. I got in for free. It was 12 quid, I think, to get in. In those days, I'd get in for nothing. And of course, people would see you all dressed up. Yeah, we saw you on Top of the Pops earlier tonight, because obviously it's now, Top of the Pop was on at 7. It's now 11 at night, and I've just walked in. Yeah, we saw you on Top of the Pops, blah blah. And of course, in the interim, after Top of the Pops, we'd stay backstage and chat to Duran Duran and whoever else was there, George Michael, have a chat, have a drink, have a laugh, and then I'd go, right, I'm off clubbing, and I'd go Stringfellows. But then we'd have people saying, can I buy you a drink? And I'd have to refuse them, even though I'd be gasping. I think I'd love to have a Diet Coke, but I don't want to be that bloke that was always having drinks bought for him, and for someone to say one day, do you know what? He's never bought a drink for anyone, is he? I'm not like that at all. But I think if I've got no money to buy the drink, how am I going to do this? So I had to refuse drinks, and that was like a constant. That was all throughout. And there were things like doing gigs, and we could do for example, the week I left, we had a 2-week residency at, one second, Blazers or Bailey's in Watford, because it was Blazers in Windsor.
Oh yeah,
we did a week at Blazers. Yeah, we did a week at Blazers and then a week at Bailey's. You don't get any money for those gigs. You just get your 40 for the week that you're getting. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I've just done 10 gigs, 5 one week or 6 one week and 6 another, 12 gigs. And I'm no better off than if I hadn't have done those gigs. I could have just stayed home, and I thought, it's ridiculous.
£40, whatever you did, 40 quid.
Yeah. I mean, at one point it went up to 80, and then they went, oh no, we can't afford to do this. So it dropped back down to 60 and back down to 40 after that. And, you know, it was only 80 for a few weeks. I thought I'd won the pools. Well, I'm on 80 quid now. Whoa. Oh no, it's back down there, you know. It's just one of those unfortunate things that you get in the music industry where people get greedy, people take advantage of, especially of musicians. They know that musicians are so desperate to get somewhere that they won't read the fine print, or they won't worry about small matters like expenses until you put your bill in for expenses and they realise that, you know, for example, you know, you do a Top of the Pops and there's a fee for Top of the Pops. You get a fee. But I never got that fee because by the time the manager put in his bill for expenses for him being there and this and that and the other, we wouldn't see the money. It's all go to him.
Do you remember what the fee was, or did they never tell you?
I think the fee was about, at the time, I think it was about, this is in 81, 82, I think it was £80 a person, £85, which might not sound a lot now, but in 81 it was obviously a lot more money than it is now. It wasn't brilliant, but it was something. I'm sure it was £80, yeah. But we never saw that. We'd never get that. I mean, to be honest, it may have been even 120. But I seem to remember 120 for some TV shows. But, you know, collectively, between X amount of band members, you know, you say, all right, that's £1,000. Just say, for argument's sake, £1,000 came in. He'd say, well, 20% of that is mine, so 200 quid's gone straight away. Then he'd say, oh, yeah, but then, you know, there were and the other thing is the band was as culpable for this as well. I would drive myself there thinking, why do I need a limo? When have I ever been so ostentatious that I need a limo? It's flipping White City from North London, on North Circular Road, 25 minutes you're there. They would want limos. So obviously the limos would have to be deducted from that. And then they'd say, yeah, but I've got a limo myself and all of that. Also, while I was here, I had to buy myself some food. So, you know, and also last night I was wining and dining so trying to get gigs for the band. So that has to come out as well. So he'd go out wining and dining and we'd pay for it because it might be a gig. Even we didn't know if it was a gig or not. It could be rubbish. He could have met with his bird for all I know and put that down. But all these things, and that's what happens in the music business. If you're not careful, people will, unfortunately, take advantage and take the mickey if they can. There are very few people that are honest enough. I'd like to think I'm one of them. I could never rip anybody off or keep their money knowingly and think I'm going to tell them I spent money on this and this and this. If I owe you money and I've got it, I will always give it to you. If I haven't got it, I'll go, bear with me, I'll give it to you when I can. I will not take anyone's money. I just can't do it. But unfortunately, the music business, or I think maybe life in general, just attracts people that if they see an opportunity to, to gain an advantage financially in some way, unfortunately, people will do it. And it's beyond me. I don't know how they live with them. I couldn't live with myself. But unfortunately, Modern Romance were one of these bands. And I recall, if I remember very early on, George Michael was in that position where Wham were not making any money. But fortunately for him, he moved over to someone else. They bought his contract out and said to the people, there you go, there's your money, leave Wham alone. And then Wham went on to bigger and better things. And that's when he started making money. Had Wham stayed with that initial company, George Michael would not have, I don't think he'd have made the records that he did end up making, because he'd have become so exasperated, he'd have said, well, I'm not recording anything anymore because I'm not getting anything out of it. But these are the pitfalls. These are the things that, and like now with my daughter being in the music industry, she says to people, my dad manages me. Now, I'm not officially her manager, but I look at everything she does and I'll say to her, don't do this. I'm the one who advised her to not do the gig on February 23rd, which actually became the official day that, as I said, the Premier League got closed down. And I said to her, look, see, it happened later in the day. And I said, look, you know, the gig was on a Friday and she said to them on Thursday night, I'm not doing it. And they were moaning. And then on the Friday, the day of her gig, is when the Premier League got closed down. I said to her, look, if they're closing down the Premier League, which is one of the biggest money spinning machines, for want of a better word, in the world, how the hell can they moan that you don't want to go and stand in a room with 250 people for the same reason that they're closing down this whole money making machine that we mentioned? So certain areas I would advise her, and if someone says, oh, you know, I've done this production and that production, because you know what people are like, they'll want to get her on the books so they can sign her and get her to sing stuff and put it out, and then she'll say, but my voice is on there. And they go, yeah, but you signed it. No, she's not signing anything until I see it. And the thing is, she's a member of the Musicians Union, and so am I. So she'll give it to the Musicians Union and say, well, can you read that for me? Which is part of what they do for members. So I will try and look after her as much as I can. But there is this element who realise that there's a huge profit and a huge advantage to be taken over musicians. And they will try and, you know, exploit that as much as they can. It's up to us just to be a bit diligent and, you know, not fall into what I fell into in the 80s. Mine was slightly different in that I didn't sign anything. I joined the band on a word, on a handshake kind of thing. And then we had a hit with Everybody Salsa. And, you know, it was very quick. It was like into the studio to do this TV show and then fly to Holland to do a TV show there, and, you know, over to Belgium and then back to London. And then they want you to do a middle page spread for, you know, Teeny Bopper magazine, #1, whatever, you know, Belly the Maker. And it was all going on. It was very fast. And then all of a sudden it was right. You know, the record went up in the charts, peaked, and then it started coming down. And they said, right, as it comes down and drops out the top 40, you should be ready. This is how it was done in those days. You've got to be ready with your next release. So as it drops out and it's getting less and less airplay, they go, oh, new single by One Romance is this one, starts going up, which is effectively how it worked. But of course, all of a sudden, we're now recording the second single. All along I was saying, well, guys, we haven't actually signed anything. Yeah, no, we'll do it later. Yeah, but we're doing all this stuff and we haven't signed any contracts. Yeah, no, it'd be done soon. So we did Lucy, the second one. Then when we did the third one, I remember saying, we're still not signed. Yeah, that'd be sorted. We were going here and everywhere and flying here and getting, you know, ferries here and going to Europe or whatever. And I thought, this is all well and good, but we've not signed anything. Anyway, I get a call one day. You've got to come to blah, blah solicitors in the West End. We've got contracts. All right, okay. Now, I'd already gone to a firm solicitors beforehand and said, look, this is what's happening, blah, blah, we've got nothing. And they said, well, we don't know what to advise you at the moment because you haven't got a contract, but, you know, let's see where they go with this. Okay. Anyway, so all of a sudden, I've been summoned to a solicitor's office in the West End. We've got contracts for you to sign. Okay. So I go and look at it and I'm reading through it. First thing I see, which I was not particularly enamoured with at all, it said that any songs that you write become the property of Business Art Productions, which is a little publishing company they've got. So I write a song and it becomes their property. And I thought, hang on a minute, my creative thing, and it becomes yours. It's got to be published through your company and it becomes partially yours. I thought, well, I'm not going to write songs, am I? So I said to them, this is a bit, oh no, that's how it is. No, it's not. It's my song. It shouldn't have to go through your company and you get a part of it. But the worst thing was, I looked at it and it said, blah, 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 blah. And you will be paid no less than £40 a week as the drummer, blah, blah, blah. So no less than £40 per week means also that I could end up getting no more than £40 a week for the rest of my life, because it says no less. It doesn't say that you're getting the increments in whatever album sales or whatever. So I said, so, well, that's not acceptable, is it? And the guy who was the singer then, the horrible little person who was the singer of the band then, who I've since kicked his ass in court, but that's another story. I'll get to that in a minute. He turned around and said, well, if you don't sign it, we'll get a drummer who will. So basically, I've just played on flipping 4 hit singles, 3 or 4 at the time. And now, a year and a half down the line, there's 3 singles actually, a year and a half down the line, you're saying, if I don't sign this, you'll get a drummer who'll play my place. I don't get any of the royalties for the records. I'm not going to get any of the royalties for the records anyway, because that's how they structured it. But I thought, I didn't do all that work for nothing. I did it so I could raise my personal profile and maybe join another band at some point that are going to pay me properly. So I left the meeting. I said, excuse me, went outside. We didn't have mobile phones, so I went across the road to a phone box, would you believe? Phoned the solicitor up and said, look, this is what's happening, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he said, look, you have a choice. He said, they're asking you to sign this contract now. You can sign it now and hope that at some point they'll make so much money that they'll think it's only right to give you some, or you can choose to not sign it and go away. But he said, as they get bigger, which we did anyway, he said, as they get bigger, you'll always wonder what would have happened. And you'll never know. This way, if you sign it, you'll know. And if you don't get money, you can leave. But you can't leave and then go, they've gotten bigger. I wish I'd have stayed. Let's go back. He said, that's not going to happen. So with that advice, I decided, okay, I'll sign it. So long story short, he left and another singer came, but still the same management. Financially, things never changed. And we got to the stage where 3 years after that is when we were doing the Baileys and Watford, Blazers and Baileys thing. Yeah. And I said to them at the beginning of it, I said, well, after we finish these 2 residencies, because it was like at the end of the tour, after we finish these 5 and that 5, I said, I'm leaving. And the guy who joined as a singer and had the hits with us with Bessie's Her Lives and Walking in the Rain and High Life, and the guy that I said was fantastic, he then turned around and said, well, if Andy's leaving, I'm leaving the same day then. And he left on the same day I left, he left. So when we finished that gig, I went, bye, see you later. You know, never saw them again. And he left as well. And that was that. And the band carried on for a little while trying to do things, didn't do anything after that. I'd like to think of it as I was the lucky charm. They didn't have a hit till I joined, and they never had a hit once I left. They didn't do anything again. And then years and years later, I met up with Dave, who's one of the 2 founder members, and we've become fantastic friends ever since. He's such a great bloke. And I say this in all interviews, when I go back that far and talk about these things, when I approached him, it was to reform the band, the 2 of us. And, you know, I said, look, this 80s thing is taking off. This is back in 1999. So right. Everyone's got this hankering for the 80s. It's all coming back. You know, I've heard so-and-so and so-and-so are doing it. Why don't we do it? You know, we had a reputation, we had a band, we had a brand. Let's do it. And he said, to be honest, because he was doing management at the time, and he said, look, I'm managing Sinead O'Connor, I'm managing this person, that person. And he said, I can't really see myself going on stage anymore. He said, it's just not me, I don't want to do it. But he said, as an original member, he said, you have every right to do it. And he said, I own the name now. So he signed it over to me there and then. We've got contracts drawn up, he signed it over, said, there it is, it's all yours. And I became Modern Romance as the only original member. I thought, okay, I need to get some players behind me. So all the musicians that I've played with over the years, I auditioned a few new ones, but musicians that I've played with over the years, I thought, well, you're good and you're good. Let's try and get you in and do this thing. And that's what we did. We started, it's a bit like picking a football team, where you pick the players you know, you go, right, we'll have you and you and you, get this team together. And we just started doing gigs and getting bookings. Funny enough, we got bookings from the agent that used to book Modern Romance in the 80s. He was the first one to book us in 1999 and still books us to this day, amongst other agents, obviously. And I just started going from there. But the one thing Dave said, when he said to me, you know, you're entitled to take the name of the band, he said, because you're an original member just like everybody else. He said, no one else wants to do anything with it. You do. It's not been used. It's yours. Off you go. And I said, well, you know, do you want me to give you anything for it? And he said, look, he said, and I have to have great admiration for him for saying, well, it's one of the best things I've ever heard anyone say. And an admission of wrongdoing that it takes a man to stand up and say this. And he turned around and said, listen, he said, he said, I did some stuff in the 80s that I'm not very proud of. So he said, the least I can do is let you have it as yours, free, whatever. And he said, also, if you need any help at any point, because I'll always be there to advise you and help, because obviously he was into management, so he knew the other side of the business. And to his credit, he has helped me in a couple of bits and got us a couple of gigs. And said, look, I've got a friend here who wants the band for this and that. I recommended you. He said, fine, that's it. So true to his word in every sense. And what I call a proper man, proper, you know, as they say, another proper geezer, a real nice bloke.
Right. Diamond geezer, they say, don't they?
Yeah, absolute diamond geezer. Lovely, lovely bloke.
And then you had a fight over the name. Tell me about that.
Right, well, having taken the name in 1999, I was cruising along merrily, 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, 8. In 2017, so basically 18 years later, I get a cease and desist letter from, and he shall remain nameless because I refuse to mention his name in any interview. Can I call him Twatface for now? Can we call him Twatface? That's a good enough name for him. It's too good for him anyway. So Twatface decides to write me a letter, a cease and desist letter, because I'm using the name Modern Romance. And you know about law. I know you do. I know from your history that you're a lawyer. He wrote me a message on Facebook Messenger saying, right, he said, I see you've decided to take the name Modern Romance as your own. How is this possible? He said, when I left the band, I gave my share of the band, including the name, to Dave in exchange for royalties. So you've just admitted that you've traded the name, your share of the name with someone else. So he said, how come you're still using it? How come you're using it? So I thought, I don't have to dignify that with a response. You can get lost. So he decides to write me this cease and desist thing. And what he'd done is he decided to go to the intellectual property offices and register the name Modern Romance. Now, he registered it, but he's not allowed to do it.
As a trademark in that sort of side.
Yeah, but he's not allowed to do it because by virtue of the fact that, in British law, by virtue of the fact that I've been using it for 18 years, got records out with barcodes, done gigs, done this, and it's become mine, end of story. No matter, even if he did own it, the fact that he's not used it, and I have used it, his use has been negated because he hasn't used it for X amount of years. The fact is, he's been away from the band for 36 years. Because when he left in 1982, we never heard again from him. It's now 2017, and all of a sudden, he wants to be Modern Romance only because he's probably realised, well, Andy seems to be pretty well at this. I should do this, and I could get all these gigs and get all this money. Number one, you can't because I own the name, as was proven in a court. Number two, as again was proven by his own recklessness, you can't sing. So he then goes out to do a gig as Modern Romance at Butlins, who think they're booking us, then find out it's not us and say, well, we've tied it in a contract now with an agent. We're a bit stuffed now because they are going out as Modern Romance and we've signed Modern Romance. So basically, to cut the story short, he went to court about it. He got his ass well and truly kicked, for want of a better phrase. Can never use the name, can't do anything with it. We are Modern Romance. We have been for the last 20 years, my version of Modern Romance. I mean, he was in the band for a year and a bit. I've been in the band 20 years now and 5 years in the 80s, 25 years service. And even the IPO said, sorry, but no one's got the right to be Modern Romance except Andy on your bike. So basically, yeah, he did go on. The thing is, though, the sad thing is about England, see, in America, if you decide to register a name, so if you, Andrew Eborn, I want to register the name Modern Romance, they'll say, do you have proof that you own this name? Do you have this name registered anywhere else? Is it registered to your knowledge in any other country? Blah, blah, blah. And then they say, failure to disclose anything you do know or giving us false information is a felony and you will be taken to court and charged and go to prison. End of story. Nothing like that on the English ones. I can go tomorrow and register for example, I can register the name Hot Chocolate as the name of a band. Now, we all know there's a Hot Chocolate around. Chances are they haven't registered it with the IPO. The IPO is so stupid, they would go, oh, well, we haven't got it on our records. Yeah, you can be Hot Chocolate. And then, when Hot Chocolate jump up and say, well, hang on a minute, you can't be Hot Chocolate. We've been doing it all these years, blah, blah, blah. It's down to Hot Chocolate to spend their hard-earned money to take me to court to get what is already theirs. And I could actually write to all the promoters and say, you can't book them anymore. I own the name Hot Chocolate, and I will sue you if you book that Hot Chocolate. If I see Hot Chocolate on a poster, it's not my band, I'm going to sue you. And that's exactly what he did, and he lost us a lot of work because everyone was very nervous. They didn't want to be sued by him. But of course, it's all over now, it's all done. But it's ridiculous that that can actually happen in this country. And to make you laugh, and to make everybody laugh, because in actual fact, there's a letter right here that I was going to act on today. Okay. I will do it on Monday now. I'm going to write to the IPO because after my case finished and they came to the conclusion that he had taken the name, not fraudulently, it wasn't in good faith, and he was passing off as Modern Romance. He was not the real Modern Romance, blah, blah, blah. This is going to make everyone laugh. This is the most ridiculous thing. Ironically, England has become a bit of a laughing stock because of our whole thing on this lockdown, the way we've handled it as a government. And they've laughed at us when there's been this much snow at Heathrow and the planes have come to a standstill because we can't handle that either. And we can't handle rain, we can't handle leaves on the train. For such an educated, civilised, forward-thinking country, we get a lot of stuff wrong. This is another one. We have the Intellectual Property Office, who are there to register the intellectual property of people. Now, when somebody walks in and says to you, I want to register blah, blah name, it should be common practice that you go onto your computer and go, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, there already is a band with that name. Can't have that, mate. Look, they're already doing stuff. No. Even if you don't know the band, you see them on there, go, no, there's already a band on there. Unless you can prove that's you, that's your website, you know, you can't do it. No, you can go in and to give an example, recently somebody decided to register the phrase, you know when you say in Cockney, I'm going for a curry, what do we say?
A Ruby Murray.
Yeah, a Ruby Murray. Well, Ruby Murray's a singer.
Yeah.
He decided to register the phrase Ruby Murray. So Ruby Murray's son got in touch with this guy and said, you can't register that. It's my mum's name. It's her trademark. She's a singer, right? No. So now he's got to pay to take this guy to court for registering his mum's name because he's registered it as I've registered the name Ruby Murray because I want to own the phrase Ruby Murray because it's a Cockney rhyming slang thing and I want to own it. Now, that shouldn't be allowed. That should not be allowed in the first place. Who doesn't know? If you don't know that Ruby Murray is a singer, you must know that Ruby Murray is a Cockney slang for curry. I'm going for
like
Ruby.
Beer a Lynn. You could have a gin.
Right, there you go.
So that's what, yeah.
Right.
But probably what it is, Andy, and I say we can do the legal thing later for some of that sort of stuff. They have different classes in the trademark registry. So the class for food and beverage would be different to entertainment services. And
you're right. You're right.
You get the protection in one of those classes. So that's as a general thing, and obviously people want specific advice. But going back to your case, you're right. There are certain things where people need to look and to check on these things. But you got judgment in your favour. And
I
where
got
are you at
judgment.
the moment with that side?
This is the laughable thing. I got judgment, and what happened was, I got judgment, and on the day, my barrister said to me, right, there's a period of 28 days where they can appeal. And after that, it will revert to you. Okay. The 28 days went past. I mean, to show you how much of a landslide it was, they didn't even turn up in court, neither did their solicitors, no one, because they knew they were going to lose. Anyway, so we waited 28 days, and I phoned up the IPO, and I said, the register hasn't been changed yet to reflect the new owner. What's going on? I was doing. And they said, what we do is we change it every Saturday. But because, say, last Saturday, they would have changed it, but Tuesday, he had up until Tuesday to contest it. So we can't change it now until the following Saturday coming. I went, all right then. So Saturday, they changed it. And in their paperwork, it says, no one else can be Modern Romance except Andy Kyriacou. End of story. He's built good faith. He's established what's the word they used? There's a phrase they use. Anyway, I've established that within the band, not good faith, there's something else. And basically by trading, and I've basically owned it outright. End of story. No one else can touch it. Right. So on the Saturday, they changed the register. So on the Sunday, I say to a friend of mine, do me a favour, go online and see if you can register the name Modern Romance as an unknown entity, a bloke from down the road. So he registers, says, I'd like to register Modern Romance. And it said, pay £100 now and we'll do the checks. And if you pass the checks, you know, if everything's fine, you can have the name. And if not, we'll give you £100 back. So he puts his £100, does his credit card. He then writes to the IPO and says, are you aware that I've just attempted to register the name Modern Romance one day after you've changed the register to reflect the owner, the true owner, and you said in your own ruling that no one else can own that name except this bloke, yet you've allowed me to put in an application for it, and there was nothing on the website to say, no, you can't do this. It's already, you know. They ignore that letter, and he gets a letter 5 or 6 days later saying, we've done all the checks, and yes, you can own the name Modern Romance. Please pay the other £100. He pays the £100. He then gets a certificate telling him, you now own the name Modern Romance. I mean, I was laughing and frustrated all at the same time, thinking, how stupid are you people? We've just had a 2-year thing where you said no one else can own it except Andy. And one day, 24 hours after you revert it back to me, you then give it to someone else. And so what happened was he transferred it to me. And one of the things I'm going to write to them about is he's transferred it to me. So I would like, after spending thousands of pounds, to keep what's already mine, I would like a certificate that I can put on the wall saying Modern Romance, Intellectual Property Office owner, Modern Romance, Andy Kyriacou, owner of the name. Oh no, because it's been transferred to you, we can't possibly issue another certificate. So I got that letter about 4 or 5 months ago, but with coronavirus and this and that, I haven't responded. I was going to respond today and say to them, listen, you are culpable. Your indifference and your nonchalance and not bothering to check things is responsible for me losing the name in the first place. And you gave it away to someone else straight away afterwards, after your own ruling that no one else can have it. So the least you can do is give me a bloody certificate and stop being stupid about it. And I want to see what they say. But the other thing they did exactly the same thing. I'm sure you're aware of this. They did exactly the same thing. Some agent, now the guy that registered it for me, registered it and was given it, my friend who then transferred it to me, he's been acting recently, because he knows quite a little bit about the law, like yourself. He was acting for another band who decided to do a few gigs, their last hurrah, because they're 70s band, really. And some agent jumped up and said to him, oh no, you can't do these gigs. What do you mean we can't do these gigs? No, you can't, because I own the name. What do you mean you own it? Well, I registered it back in whatever. And if you want to do gigs under that, using that name, you've got to pay me 15 grand. And the name is, and you're going to die, the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band.
Ah, Vivian.
He was 6 years old when they were out touring. All of a sudden, he decides, go and register their name. Then they have to pay me if they want to go and tour. And they've just finished kicking his arse in court. But again, the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band are a very well-known band.
They
All
are.
they had to do,
A good band.
all they had to do was, they're referenced by the Beatles. Yeah, exactly. They're referenced by the Beatles. They got statements from the Monty Python people, John Cleese, and they got statements from what's his face, the guy that does the QI. What's the show? He was on Blackadder. He used to play Blackadder as well.
All right. Okay. Rowan Atkinson.
No, the other guy.
Ben Elton.
No. He does a show now. The quiz show. QI. Is it QI?
Yes, Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Fry.
No, not Stephen Fry. Is it Stephen Fry?
Well, he used to do QI. Yes, Stephen Fry was in.
Yes, Stephen Fry. Yes, Stephen Fry. Yes.
Take my car now, Andy. Are you asking 10 questions? You got them all right. Come on.
Stephen Fry. Yes, it is Stephen Fry. So yes. So they got a statement from Stephen Fry as well to say that I was listening to the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band 40 years ago. How can this guy suddenly own the name? But then again, all they had to do was look online for Modern Romance or the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band to say, well, mate, you can't register that as the name of a band to do live gigs because it's already there. And unless you can prove that's you, this is your site, this is you now, can't do it. But they just give willy-nilly, anyone can walk in and register anything. I could walk in and register Octopus TV. And if you haven't registered...
Interestingly, you couldn't be. I was going to tell you, there's two things that I own. I have a number of trademarks, including the word and the thing. I own the word Octopus for a number of classes, check it out. And I also own the word failure. And the reason I own the word failure is because I set up the failure awards, because we always celebrate success. And I said we never celebrate the failures that get to that success. So I say that if necessity is the mother of invention, then failure is the father of success. I've registered the word failure. So that'll be interesting for you. But it's all about classes and all about the other things. And
absolutely,
a general point, and it's really interesting, a general point, the reason for all these laws going back to passing off and so on and so forth is that the public should not be confused. So the public, when you've got a name, they want to make sure they're saying the right people for the name when they do that. So there's a lot of fundamental things to that. And trademark law we can go into. It's all divided into classes. Do get specialist advice, but certainly the lessons that you learn are really, really important lessons.
Oh, listen, I could now sit and advise somebody about the laws of passing off and registering your name and hand portrait. I got Natalie. I said, Nats, register the name Natalie Grace, because you'll be doing a gig one day and some girl will come up and say, I was Natalie Grace whenever I used to be as a singer, and I want to use the name now and you can't use it. I said, so register it to make sure it's yours. And she's done that.
And that's also why people like Equity are very helpful, because they won't allow a member with the same name. So things like that, there are different ways of doing it. But it's a really, really important area. And what we should do is absolutely, we'll come back. You'll be a regular on this show. I love talking to you. So we'll set the world to rights. I'll come round, I'll have my chicken, I'll make sure it's got the skewer properly, and we'll set the world to rights. I love that. It'd be really, really good.
Listen, forget the chicken. You wait till you have the lamb, mate.
No, I'll tell you what, I was talking about with the chef today, lamb and baba ganoush. I love, if you have the aubergine with lamb, it is to die for. It's one of my favorite things.
Well, we'll have to get you around here when my barbecue area is finally finished. I'm going to finish it next week.
I'm up there, it's got to be good.
Just briefly, going back to what something you said just now.
Yeah.
About people, the public knowing who they're getting.
Yes.
The irony is, these guys went out and did one gig as Modern Romance, and I was getting complaints and getting people saying to me, Andy, you need to go and see this on Facebook, this string of conversation. And they'd send me a link, and I'd go and see it. And people would be chatting and go, yeah, I'm going to Butlins this week there, and so-and-so's going to be there, blah, blah, and Modern Romance. And someone said, no, mate. He said, I saw them in January, and they were absolute crap, so I'm not interested. And I had to write to people and apologise and say, look, what you saw in January was not Modern Romance. It was someone purporting to be Modern Romance. Please come as my guest to this show here so you can see what the real Modern Romance are like. Come as my guest, come and meet the band. Please come along. I said, because I don't want you, thinking badly. If you come along and you think we're rubbish after that, fine. But please give us a chance to prove you wrong. Because the one thing, even if people don't like our music, I can understand people go, oh, wishy-washy pop music. I can understand that. But they will never say that the band have played badly. Because this band, as you know, one of them plays with Level 42. One of them plays with Rag and Bone Man. I mean, these are top people, right? So the musicians I use.
Isn't there a trumpeter in your band, though, that keeps getting the wrong note?
Yes, that's Dan. That's poor Dan. Anyway, Dan's going to watch this and kill me, poor lad.
It's your fault. We love it.
Yeah. So anyway, but the thing is, so having seen that, and people, it's the first time ever I've seen negative things about the band. And apparently they emptied the dance floor, which we've never done either. So it's very important that people do know who they're going to see. And that's why the name is so important. Because at the time they said to me, well, why don't you be Andy from Modern Romance and I'll be Jeff from Modern Romance? He wrote this letter towards the end suggesting it. And I thought, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. But after all this, you want to do that? No, because then it dilutes it all as well. They know Modern Romance, and for the last 20 years, every time they've come, they've seen us, and they've had a stonking show, and they've gotten to sing along and dance and everything, and gone off happy. Why would I want to convolute things and make things really complicated for people? Well, which Modern Romance do you see? I don't know, some bloke singing. Yeah, they've both got a bloke singing. No, one Modern Romance, as it is, that's it, goodbye, see you later. But the fact is, we did have people going to see what they thought was Modern Romance, and that's where it really affects everybody, because they're seeing a band and commenting on how bad it is, and it's actually not us.
Yeah.
So it's really
that's the key. People need to know. The general public need to know. It's like a stamp of authenticity. Confusion is one of the, as I said, talking in generalities, people look at specific cases, but where there's confusion, that's the bit about sort of passing off, and people say that the general public need to be protected, which is interesting. But the great thing is, and the music is, you cannot fail but to have a good time with the music. The music is sensational. You were regenerated in 1999 as well, and when we talk about the movie Shrek, how did that come about?
Well, the sad thing there is a sad side to that, in that there was no Modern Romance at the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They said, you want to use this song, you can't get Modern Romance to record it because there is no Modern Romance. So the Baha Men who did that, remember that record, Who Let the Dogs Out?
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic song.
Well, they got them to re-record it. And only after they re-recorded it, and it was, and DreamWorks had it in the pipeline as a film, and it was already being filmed and everything, I heard there's a film coming out with Modern Romance's song in it, blah, blah, blah. So I got in touch with them, and they said, look, it's too late, it's already been done, but we'd like to invite you to a special screening. So I went to a special screening, took the kids, and we actually got to see Shrek before everybody else, which was fantastic. But the downside is, we didn't get to record the song, that's our song. But then I get great pride in saying to people, our song's featured at the end of Shrek, which one is it? And because it's the one right at the end with the credits, it's even more, I suppose it's just as significant or more significant than having it in the film, because the credits are coming out and people get up to leave. Most people don't read the credits. Me and you might read them, but because we want to see who the producer was or who did the music.
I read every single line, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly, we're anoraks. But most people don't do that.
A lot of them are late, that's why. So yes, that's what happens.
So as they're leaving, they can hear Best Years of Their Lives, and they walk out the theatre.
You go out singing. It's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah. So that is so apart from that small negative that we didn't actually get to record that version in the film, it's still our song, and it still means people leave the cinema singing that song.
Yeah,
and so many kids.
Sensation. But it brought then, and that's why that was a catalyst then in a way, wasn't it, for reforming the band and thinking, come on, let's do this, and we've got.
Well, in actual fact, I was just reforming the band when I heard about the film, and so I got in touch to say, do you want to do a version? And they said, oh, we've already done it.
Yeah.
But please come along as our guest, and we went along and saw the thing anyway. But But it was great because as soon as we started gigging and playing that, people have only just seen Shrek a few weeks
I know, they
earlier.
love it. It brought a new audience to you because having been in the 80s, you moved on a decade and a bit. You work on that sort of basis. You've now got a young audience because it's Shrek and it's a family audience, and you cannot fail but have a fantastic time. So I love it. So at the moment, you're doing gigs all over the place, or you would be doing gigs all over the place. That's a lot of the I had the joy of bringing you along, as I say, with RJ Gibb, the son of Robin Gibb from the Bee Gees, and we had you and Nats on stage as well. And we had a fantastic night that night as well, which is really, really good. So we're planning, well, we had a tour organised, but the same thing, as soon as it all started, everything's on lockdown. But we're looking at obviously trying to shift dates and make that make sense. But we're absolutely going to do this on a regular basis. I'm going to come round. I'm going to have the lamb. I'm going to have the chicken because that's going to be so.
Oh, there's more than that. Trust me.
I want to see Nats perform as well because I'm looking forward to seeing her live again.
Well, she's done a few things while we've been on lockdown. She's done a few live things through Zoom and stuff, and for different people, different things. She's very. I must admit, she's bloody good. People say to me,
"Proud father," you know.
Of course I am. Of course I am.
Father stands together. It's got to be.
People sometimes I post stuff on Facebook. Go, here's a little song Natalie, the new one she's done. Yeah, she just does little recordings in her room and we just put them out. And I'll say, here's Natalie's new recording. And so many times people have said, I wonder who she gets it from. And I'll write back and say, not me, because she's bloody better than me. It's definitely not me.
Well, the great thing is you're a brilliant father because you can steer her through the murky waters of what can otherwise be a tricky business. And I think that's a great thing for a dad to be able to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, I can see how keen she is, but I know what this industry's got. And I know people will tell you what they think you want to hear just to get you to sign, just to get you to do what they want to do. And they will try and befuddle you with oh yes, I know somebody, I know someone who, if you said to him, he's a producer, if you said to him, I know a bloke, I know a drummer who's best friends with the bass player that plays in Anastasia, maybe he can have a chat and get you to do a track with her. Tomorrow, he'll be saying to people, oh yeah, I've just been told I'm working with Anastasia. So if he was talking to Nats, for example, he'd say, yeah, I'm doing some tracks with Anastasia, and then I might be doing some tracks with Joss Stone as well. And people will say what they think you want to hear, and he knows everything. He's fantastic. I need to sign and be with this bloke. No, I need to see absolute concrete proof that you are who you say you are. You've worked with who you say you've worked. And I want to see and hear the results. Yeah. And then I go, okay, yes, Nats, this is the bloke to sign with. Because otherwise I know that they're full of it. And I know so many of them that are.
Yeah, it's so true. I know we've had this discussion before. I always have the mantra, question everything. You know, whatever people say, whatever people do, if they say things behind people's backs, there's always another side to the story. You can't go far wrong if you question everything.
Yeah. I mean, if people get offended because you've questioned things, then there's something wrong. Because if I said to someone, I want to do this track for you, if you want me to help you, I can do this and this, and they started questioning me, I'd say, well, you're quite entitled to question me because you don't know me.
Right.
I could be full of rubbish and telling you this crap, just want to get your money and go. So, as you say, you do need to question everyone, because no one's going to walk up and say, well, look, I'm a bit of a con man, come and sign to me. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. So you
I think you're refreshingly honest. I think that would be great. I love that advice. I think you should tell people that'll be the new thing. When we after Corona, I know Corona. Once that's all gone and people enter a new realm, I like the idea. Let's have that refreshingly honest thing. You know, the art of lying. It should be good.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there are unfortunately very many Arthur Daly types surrounding our industry.
Yes. Well, we'll discuss all of those next time as well. We'll bring you back, Andy. One final question for tonight, though, is that the light is fading. How would you, and with such a rich career, lots of great things about to happen in the future when we get to this new normal, how would you like to be remembered?
By my immediate friends and family. More importantly, I'd like to be remembered as a good dad. For me, that's number one, above everything else. If people remember what I did musically, and say, well, you know, he was in this band, he sang, he did that, you know, a bit of a decent singer, whatever. That's lovely. For me, that I couldn't care if I had all the accolades and all the gold discs in the world up on the walls. You saw the ones we saw earlier. I don't care. If I had 50,000 more of those and didn't have a relationship with my kids, it'd be meaningless. So for me, I would like to think that my kids, and I'm pretty sure it will be like this because we have a great laugh together, as you've seen when we're on stage as well. You can see, you know, people tell us it's really evident. But I would like to think that when I do eventually, you know, pop my clogs, they're going to have nothing but good things to say and say, do you know what, no matter what, he always looked after us, he always ran after us, he made sure we were okay. To me, that's more important because it's relatively easy to be, if you're in a band that's doing well, it's relatively easy to do well because the vehicle that you're on is doing well. It's not easy being a dad while you're trying to do all this stuff. And the one thing I made sure, when we first got divorced, Steph was 7 and Nats was 3. And I made sure that I had shared custody of them, which meant that 4 days a week I was home with them, giving them a bath, playing with them, rolling around the floor, fighting with them, you know, messing around, feeding them, putting them to bed, reading them stories. And the other 3 days I was a pop star. But those 4 days were untouched. It differed. It wasn't the same 4 days, obviously, because sometimes it'd be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. But 4 days of the week they were with me, sometimes 5 or more, but it was always at least 4 days. I made sure that I was a full-on mum and dad for them, and the other 3 days I was a singer in a band. And that's paid dividends. And the one thing I do acknowledge, I have to acknowledge this, it's only by virtue of the fact that I am in a band and not working 9 to 5 that I was able to have that relationship with my kids. And I acknowledge that and I appreciate it, because if I was doing a 9 to 5 job, I'd be like a lot of the unfortunate dads in this world. I'd be a weekend dad, picking them up, taking them to McDonald's, trying to cram in as much as you can in the weekend before you have to give them back on Sunday, saying get ready and go to school. I didn't have that. So I'm very lucky, very blessed, and extremely grateful for that. I can't tell you. And that is what obviously led to us having the relationship we've got now. We have a relationship which is, I mean, a lot of their friends don't believe the relationship we've got. You know, I mean, we mess about so much. I'll say, Nats, can you do this for me? And she'll go, piss off. And then, you told your dad to piss off? Yeah, no, we always joke around, you know. They'll send me text, Dad, I'm finishing from this club at 5 in the morning. We're going to finish around 5. And here's the address, you know, for you to pick us up. And I said, get lost, you can walk home, cow. But she knows that means yes. I won't right afterwards and go, no, of course I'll come. I said, get lost, walk home, you silly cow. You know, and we just have this relationship. We're like friends, and we mess around, and they will actually sit down and constructively criticise something and go, Dad, do you know, we've got to say this. We did that the other day. And I go, really? You know, oh, okay. All right, well, I won't do that. We'll change it and do this way. Yeah, right. Because they're adults at the end of the day. I can't treat them like my kids, because although they are my kids, they're not kids. So they've kind of grown with me and grown together, sort of thing. And that can only be done when you spend a lot of time with somebody, which we have done. And all that is only possible because I'm not a 9 to 5 worker, for which I'm so grateful, I just can't tell you. So yes, so I would like to be, in a nutshell, I would like to be remembered as the bloke who tried to be the best dad he could possibly be. For me, that's the best thing.
Fantastic. And your kids are the best production you've ever done.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, fantastic. I love them to bits, and they're funny, and they're educated, and they're intelligent. And the thing is, you have to be intelligent to be funny. And they are very funny.
They do you proud, Andy. They're wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll get you back. I'll come around for the chicken. I'll definitely come around for the lamb. I look forward to seeing you again really soon.
Lovely. See you again soon.
Take care, Andy. A real joy. Cheers, mate.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was Andy. Thank you indeed. I'll be popping around as soon as I can to have that fantastic chicken and lamb. If you'd like to take part in the show, write to me at lol, that's LOL, at octopustv.com. Don't forget to subscribe for lots more exciting content. And do put your comments in the comment section below. But for now, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to Andy again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.